6 years ago. It's probably going north of that if this ongoing situation inside the Gulf continues, okay? Plywood, we just got back to some stabilized price in plywood where you're paying now $25 a sheet. Plywood was $15 a sheet. You was getting a pallet of plywood for what it takes to buy 10 and 15 sheets of plywood now. So your construction cost isn't going down. Also, labor costs. My carpenter gets paid $1,000 a week. Y'all paying that. He was getting paid $800 a week in 2018. Ain't no man going to continue working at a high level for the same price. So people like to think that, yeah, back in the day when my grandmother was getting stuff built, we was paying the guy $50 a day. I say, I laugh at that. That was back in the day. No man out there is working for $50 a day. That's your labor end. Your highly skilled people, they're making $25 and $35 an hour. Some people are making $40, $50 an hour to deliver this molding, this thing which you're looking at. Construction has cost more, which is a good thing for you. When you make the investment, your product is valued more. You're not losing, but I want people to appreciate the cost. You have to really appreciate, so when they're selling you something and you see the numbers, and you run the numbers, and I look at it all the time, and Darren and I have a great relationship, we chuckle all the time, I say, now that's a good deal, because I know I can't even build that for that. Someone's selling a duplex, townhouse, for $385, should buy me, I'll get two. You can't build that for that price point. You cannot. So you have to understand what things cost. And I think that's part of the reason why forums like this need to be bigger, expanded, and more important. Because you sometimes don't take advantage of a deal because you didn't know it's a deal. If I told everyone right now, you could buy a townhouse unit for $189,000 and it's 1,500 square foot, some people are like, yeah, I know, I probably look around. What? What? What are you looking around for? What you look around for more? That's what you should look around for. No, you have to understand the value of something. You got to know the cost. It doesn't matter. And that's I like the comment about that. And I said this about 20 years when I graduated from college. I told people that the area conversation is a value conversation. When I buy a block, the seller of the block does not know the final destination. So block costs today $3.10. $3.07 to $3.06 per block. Block was $1.89 10 years ago, just for perspective. The person who sold me the block, doesn't matter if I'm taking that in Life Key, doesn't matter if I'm taking it in Ocean Club, doesn't matter if I'm taking it in Yamacraw, the Grove, that block costs $3.05. Now, here's where the value and the aesthetics you don't appreciate cost. I'm taking that block now and I'm installing it in Life Key. The person who's working in Life Key may have a higher salary because of the product that they're building, probably has a higher cost, so the margins are slightly different, so you're paying this guy. Or the quality of work may be where it's a multi-million-dollar house and everything have to be exacting, so you have to pay for that level of exacting. But if we're talking about all things being equal, the block costs the same thing a block costs anywhere in a certain area. Now, distance matters. I'm taking the block from, let's say, in the middle of town, all the way to Life Key. You can't expect a guy who's gonna, if he's not the company who owns it, pick that block up and haul it 3.5 miles for the same price, then do that work if he's doing it right around the corner. So that's what sometimes you're paying for. Or you inside communities where it requires you can't work before this time, you can't work after that time. Gated communities generally will cost people more. I can't go in Sandy Point and work today. I would like to work today, but it's a Saturday. So I could only work 5 days a week. I could work from 8 till 4. If I work in Yellow Elder, I could work from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock in the night. You kind of see, I could get a lot more things done. So it's changing the way I operate the business in certain areas. So the cost to me is less because I could get more done in a day. And the value to me as a business owner, because I get more done in a day, when it comes to the areas that control who goes in, what goes in, all them stuff, it kind of manage that. So in the final thing, I want to say this. Building versus buying is something that I want you to look at personally not globally. The reason why it worked for you isn't the reason why it's going to work for you or the reason why it's going to work for anyone in the back there. And finally, you have to think about, am I willing to do the first of all, do the research beforehand? Determine what is important for you. I want a custom home, and I'm willing to work with an architect, an engineer, and find a great contractor and get this product built, but I have to find a great contractor. Or I want to find a deal from a great real estate firm and buy something that someone already did the hard work, that effort, and make that work for me. Those are two personal choices. So I often tell people, I don't make that choice. You tell me, when we sit down, what do you want to do today? Do you want to buy something? Do you want to build something? I don't steer anyone in that direction because I don't want to be responsible for making you feel like you should do something. I want you to come up with an answer. Tell me what you want to do, and you could contract me to do that. And then finally, I would say that the cost of construction is not going to go down. The best time to build is now. It will cost more next year. It will cost more the year after that. It will cost more. There's nothing in construction that has ever gone down. Block started at 189. It's 306 now. It will probably be at 310 at some point in time this year. Next year, it may be 315. So you don't wait to build. You don't wait to buy land, because again, the minute another person buy land, what happened? There's one less land left. Guess what happened to land? So the conversation is now. The conversation when to do it? Now. When to build? Now. When to invest? Now. But in that now, don't be hasty. Because one or the two people don't know anything with construction. One or two people don't mind if they screw up your entire life investment. We have a dossier inside our office about this thick of all the people who come and they complain to us, and we shared it with the Prime Minister and say, these are the citizens, members of this country, who took hundreds of thousands of dollars and put it in someone's hand with an agreement that they will build this thing. And I showed them this is the thing they produced for this person. What do they do now? Retirees, persons who give a well-to-do company, gave someone $300,000, they haven't found a guy yet. This has happened. The bank financing system is a great system, but I would say, Dwight, it is too rigid in construction financing, and that adds another dynamic to it. Because let me close with this. I was having a conversation with someone from CIBC, and I want them to be in the room. If you ask me to be your bank, I will. But I can tell you right now, you can get a better rate from CIBC, Scotiabank, Royal Bank. Because you can't ask me, I just met you, sir, you want to build a duplex. I priced it out, that's $400,000. First stage, say 10% of that, get out of the ground and get the slab board, it's probably going to be around $57,000. You don't have no money, you go into the bank tell you the contractor got to come up with the first stage payment. So now I'm using my $50,000 at no interest. No, I tell you what I offered the client before. I can lend you the $50,000 at 25%. You probably need to talk to your bank again. Because I guarantee they would, no, I'm not your friend, I'm what? The contractor. You're asking the contractor now to be the financer. You see that box? You can't step with that box. This box, what I ain't call, I am the contractor. Now let's scale it up. I priced out another job, it's $1 million. First date, $100,000. You want me to go to my bank? I take out $100,000 of my money to do your project in exchange for what? Now. So that's the space I want us to think about. Work with banks who understand how construction financing works. I'm not saying anyone has gotten it wrong, but I say we can't be rigid about it. Work with people who have the professional expertise to understand how you finance a project properly so that the bank isn't exposed, and I know that's important to them, and the First Caribbeans and the Commonwealth banks, but you also have to make sure that the project could be completed, and that's important to you, the end user. I'll leave that with my presentation. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Lots of great information by our president. And we're going to invite Mr. Albert Thompson, who's going to come and facilitate any questions about constructions. Lots of information about buying full property versus building. All right, Mr. Thompson, please.
All right, thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon now almost. Good to see everyone here. Good participation, and thank you so much for that presentation, Leonard. So we heard about the rising cost of construction. So we have about 5 minutes, I think, on the time for Q&A. So anyone who has any questions, just raise your hand and we'll come over and get that question from you. But I'm sure you have lots of questions. I'll start it off. And I know you talked about staying in your role.
Yes, stay in your role.
So if you, as a contractor, have a plan from an architect, and it just doesn't seem to make sense, do you have any input at all? You don't even bother to cross it at all?
That is an excellent question. Excellent question. And it's a kind of tricky one. When you say doesn't seem to make sense, I've seen that. But I can't make that call. What doesn't make sense to me? I said, let's talk with the architect. What was your thought process around this door being in the middle of the kitchen? Let's ask the question, because maybe it doesn't make sense, but maybe there was some logic behind it. What I would suggest that, and I do this in the initial discovery, I look at the plan with the client, and I said, is this, and I ask the question, is this what you and the architect came up with? And if they say yes, yes, okay, good. So do you understand that when you come out of this bedroom, that door is facing directly into the living room and someone may see who's inside? Is that what you wanted? And if they say, yeah, that's fine, because I don't really entertain anyone, so it's never going to happen. Okay, fine. I would ask 1 or 2 questions. But if I generally do not involve the design aspect, because another professional did that, and I respect that process, because I have great friends who are architects, and I believe that if they did their service to the clients, they would have satisfied whatever design elements the client wanted them to achieve for the home.
Okay. Yeah. All right, thank you. I see we have a question. Oh, we have one right here, too. This is Carla.
Hi, Leonard.
Hi, Carla.
So I do appraisals, so does Albert and a lot of us in this room. And could you just explain a little bit, because you touched on it about a cement block costing $3.10 no matter where you build. But explain to us, there is a difference in pricing a house in Lyford Key because the quality of the materials that may be going into that house is more laborious, if that's the right word,
Yeah.
or costly and timely for you to do versus doing a basic A-frame house in Yellow Elder.
Yeah, and I understand it, and I understand the question, and thank you, that's a good question. What you're really experiencing is really the comparative value. Okay, if I ask someone to do a 10 by 10 wall in, let's say, Garden Hills, Yellow Elder, any one of those areas, and then someone wants a 10 by 10 wall in Lyford Key, here's what is perceived in both instances. The level of scrutiny that someone's going to pay attention to in Lyford Key, they're not going to pay attention to inside Garden Hills. And it doesn't mean that the quality has to be different, but I can tell you that that wall is going to take at least 2 to 3 times longer in Lyford Key. Every block will have to be set perfectly, checked for square and level. Now you can do this house over there. You may run a story pole and just lay the blocks because you know no one's going to generally come behind, but I've seen clients do a floor in Lyford Key, for example, and they take a 4-foot level and they start at this end of the room and they slide that across the floor, and if that floor skips, if that level skips, they want that tile taken out. Someone's not going to do that in another area. So, Carly, you're right. The work might be similar, but the expectation is higher. So you're generally going to pay more to have that level of exactness delivered in the construction product.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I see some persons with hands up. We want you to just go to the mics right in the center there so that we can get you on camera. Okay.
Good morning. I have a quick question for you, Ms. DeSanz, right? We talked about the rising cost of construction in the Bahamas, which was very staggering for me to learn that. I'm wondering, I'm a man who is 52 years old. I have a son who is 27 years old. I'm in the process of building what Bahamians call their forever home, right? The estimated cost on that, where I'm at now, is just slightly under $500,000, right? In terms of planning The projection for my wife and I was to try to achieve that over the next 2 to 3 years. But given the rising cost of construction, would it be better perhaps to go sit down with a banker and get that loan and complete that, or simply to work with the plan of trying to complete that over the next 2 to 3 years, given the rising cost of construction? That's my question.
Okay. There's two options with that. I would say that certainly you can't put a cap on what you can spend next year. So the volatility is something you can't control. So if you could get something now and get it completed in this 12-month window, probably works best in terms of capping that cost. There are certain months where if you're not in the construction industry, steel prices fluctuate on a monthly basis between probably 15 to 30%. And the consumer who bought steel on Monday paid $2,000 for a bundle, and on the next week, Wednesday, that same bundle is $2,500. So those are volatilities that people can't control. So sooner is even better. But now I was give this one option that I want the banks to think about too. We've now starting to see people, if they could get the relationship right with the financing, I can buy everything outside of the United States, whether I go to India, whether I go to China, whether I go to Africa, for about 30% of what it costs in North America. Challenge is, I can't go to the bank and say, hey, give me, out of my $500,000 project, give me $250,000. I'm going to buy all my materials, and only the local stuff I'm going to buy, my block, cement, sand, and what's not, here. If you could get that, you're probably going to save about 30 to 40% on cost. Wow. Now, that's where I believe the banking relationship have an opportunity to readjust how they do it, because right now, with the cost of construction rising, we can't continue to do the same thing and get the same product. So what I could buy with $200,000 in China, I could build something which could give me $500,000 in value. But I got to be able to walk into China with the $200,000 or walk into India with $200,000. I went on, and the final thing I want to say, I went on a trade trip to India. I could buy a sheet of plywood, would cost $25 here for less than $7. That's more than 3-4 times the cost. So if I could buy all my plywood in India for a quarter of the cost, think about that savings that I'm getting. Now, obviously, you can pay a little bit more on shipping, but if you could fill a container with wood, and people are doing that now, you're finding the value is at 30 to 40% low, but you have to have the money to go and border, because you can't tell them, well, when the stage payment come in, I can send it back to the States. No, you have to be able to go and purchase and ship back, and then have the benefit of doing that.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a few more questions, just rather quickly.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Sands. Thank you
Morning,
for the
morning.
presentation. As a consumer, I have had the pleasure of dealing with contractors over the years, and like you said, it's not usually a walk in the park when you have to do repairs and so forth. So 3 questions for you. 1, when it comes to persons who apply for membership to the BCA, do you vet internally and do you regulate internally until the government catches up? 2, do you advocate or facilitate recourse for consumers who have had any challenges with any members of your association? And 3, you mentioned about the discrepancies between what the architect, I guess, recommends and what the contractor may recommend as an alternative or an adjustment. Do you agree with roundtables in terms of having that discussion with all of the stakeholders involved in that building process, whether it's repairs or whether it's building from scratch? Okay. Thank you, I'll listen.
So first question, yes, we do have a process for admission into the Bahamian Contractors Association. It is not, once you apply, you become a member. We have an application process that is vetted. You have to have a business license, you have to have a banking relationship. All of those things have to be met too, and also you have to evidence your work to be considered for membership. Now, again, I want the public to understand, we'd like to make it very rigid, but the reality is we really won't get much members doing that, because if we make it that rigid, the problem is you don't have to have a member of the BCA build your house. So we're putting everyone through all these hoops and things, and the next guy says, yeah, I don't have to do none of that, and they can still build your house. And so that's part of the challenge that we're trying to mitigate. Second question you asked about, what do we do in instances where someone was a member or no member and they run afoul with a client and didn't do what they promised, first things we do, we sit and we talk with the person. We give the client to give us the dossier, what happened, and we go through that with them. And then finally, if there is no way for those two, through our relationship, to come to agreement, we refer them to the consumer protection. Yeah.
Okay, right on the heels of that same question, I know with the Bahamas Real Estate Association, we have a website where you can see who are realtors and who are licensed. Is the BCA, do they have
The
a website?
BCA website, www.bahamiancontractors.org, has the list of all our contractors in the categories, but I will tell people that's a starting place. If you find and you pull the name of the hat and that's the contractor, okay, that's just the person you talk to. Now, let's find out more about that individual.
Okay, thanks. Now, I see Trent looking at me. Do we have time for two more questions? We don't. Okay.
Yeah, we have
apologize.
our BCA table is right
Take any
outside
more
the door.
questions, but
Yeah.
we'll have some questions that he can answer outside. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Leonard, once again. Give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you, Mr. Sands. Those of you that have questions, you can just ask them right outside to the table. They'll be able to help you. My sister asked the first 8 questions by herself, so you know how that was right there. It was very good, very informative. And thank you, Mr. Thompson, for facilitating that aspect of what we did. Very quickly, we're going to put the QR code up one last time, that those of you that are here that want the university credit for having been here today, we're trying to wrap that up so that you can get your certificates printed today. So the QR code is going to appear on the screen. We want you to scan that and then fill out that information so that you can receive the credit for that. We're moving now into our land adjudication and registered land reform. That's going to be our next panel discussion that is coming up right here, just next. The introductions for them will play, and then following that, you'll meet those panelists.
Petrocelli Edwards is the first registrar of lands in the Bahamas, leading modernization, transparency, and reform of land administration systems. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Petrocelli Edwards. The Bahamas Real Estate Association is the governing body for real estate professionals in the Bahamas, responsible for regulating the conduct of agents and brokers while promoting professionalism and ethical standards across the industry. BREA plays a central role in licensing, policy development, and maintaining the integrity of the multiple listing service system. Carla Sweeting serves as president of the Bahamas Real Estate Association. She's a respected real estate professional known for her leadership, industry knowledge, and commitment to advancing the standards of the profession. Under her leadership, BREA continues to focus on strengthening regulatory frameworks, enhancing member engagement, and positioning the Bahamian real estate sector for continued growth and global competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome President Carla Sweeting. Lionel Haven is a veteran banker and Chief Operations Officer of CompuTitle, specializing in title searches and supporting secure real estate transactions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Lionel Haven. Donald E. Thompson is a licensed land surveyor with over 50 years of experience and founder of a leading surveying firm contributing to major developments in the Bahamas. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Donald Thompson. Alastair Chisnall is a partner in the property practice of the law firm of Graham Thompson. He specializes in real estate, sales and structuring for high-end private client matters, and large commercial transactions. In 2022, Alastair was appointed to the National Land Reform Committee. In September of 2025, he and other members were recognized for the historically significant work of the committee, which, after an extensive 3.5-year process, drafted bills that became the Land Adjudication Act 2025 and the Registered Land Act 2025. Legislation that radically reforms Bahamian land law and conveyancing practice. He has written extensively on the law and practice of real estate development in the Bahamas. most notably as a contributing author to the Chamber's Global Practice Guides in Real Estate, published by the prestigious London-based Chambers and Partners. Ladies and gentlemen, Alastair Chisnall.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a heavy panel today. And I don't know if we're going to get through all of our questions, but we're going to try. We have such a wealth of experience. And I just welcome the facilitator for our questions in the person of D. Sean Nordage. He's going to stand right by so that he can help us at the end with your questions. Let's give our panelists just a round of applause just for their service. I'm sure we have combined over 100 years of service just on this stage. Good afternoon, everyone. In the Bahamas, the idea of land adjudication and title registration dates back to the 1960s under the era of the UBP. In 2010, under an F&M administration, we saw renewed effort with draft legislation. And now in 2025, under the PLP, we have enactment of both the Land Adjudication Act and the Registered Land Act. That is roughly 65 years from concept to enactment. Internationally, just to give us a global perspective, England and Wales began in 1862, with compulsory registration phased from 1926 to around 1990. John? You'll be able to help me with that. Over 120 years. Jamaica implemented in 1889 and the Cayman Islands in the 1970s with phased rollout. So we are not behind. We are a part of a pattern. The reform takes time and passing the law is only the beginning. I heard John Christie in this interview about this, that we're just at the beginning and it's gonna take time. But we have some questions for these panelists today. And we're going to start with the astute lawyer, the Alastair Chisnall, Graham Thompson. Alastair, please tell us, before we even get into the detail, how would you simply define the land adjudication under the Land Adjudication Act 2025, and how does it differ from land registration under the Registered Land Act 2025.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk to that. Before I do, I just want to say thank you very much for letting me speak after Mr. Sands, because everyone loves speaking after a Toastmaster. But also just to say thank you for the invitation to be here, to be able to talk and join the discussion on this topic. I've been a member of the Land Reform Committee for the last 2.5 years, working alongside Petruccelli Edwards and a cross-section of other very talented individuals from government, from the private sector, from the Surveyor General's Department, from the Tax Department, in collaborating to create the legislation that's the backbone of what we're talking about today. And it's very exciting to be where we are and to have this opportunity to talk about it. So what we're talking about is land adjudication and land registration, which are two different things, two different concepts, but we refer to them almost inseparably because they are integrated and they're closely connected to each other. They both relate each to a different piece of legislation. Land adjudication is established by the Adjudication of Land Act, and land registration is established under the Registered Land Act. Now, both of those concepts and both of those pieces of legislation work towards the same goal, which is the creation of a land registry, a register where the ownership of all land in the Bahamas will be identified and registered. Now, when we talk about adjudication under the Land Adjudication Act, that is the investigatory phase of the process. It is part of the process where government goes into a community, goes into an area, and almost literally asks the question of who owns the land here? How many people? What kind of interests and rights and title do they have? And does the fact-finding on the ground to verify what the situation is for the purpose of preparing what is called an adjudication record. Land registration is the second half of that process, where that adjudication record is taken and used to populate the land register. And so land adjudication feeds registration. It's a seamless pipeline. And the way you almost think about it is that adjudication looks backwards. It looks at how title has been owned in an area, how property has been used, who's lived on the land, who has rights to be established in law. Land registration looks forward. It deals with how title will be treated going forward and how all people transacting with someone who owns land is going to deal with that title in the future.
Excellent. You actually answered the second question too.
Oh.
But appreciate that. I'm still going to get a perspective from Mr. Edwards. That was well explained, wasn't it? From the registry perspective now, sir, and congratulations, you're the first, I mean, that's history. You're the first land registrar in the Bahamas.
Thank you.
From the registry perspective, how do these two acts work together in practice? He just explained it, but I'm sure from your perspective, you will have it. What happens after the land has been adjudicated on a practical standpoint before it enters the registration system?
All right. Thank you very much. And like Alistair said, thank you for the invite. Alistair did a very comprehensive explanation, so I'll try to add a little bit. Like he said, it's just two separate acts. The adjudication process is tantamount to what you do now when you investigate title, but it does more in that it investigates the title, it determines the title, and it declares the title, okay? And so the same process that you use now, for instance, if you have a vendor-purchaser agreement, the attorneys for the purchaser would do a 30-year search if the root of title is a conveyance to establish a good chain of title. That will be done under the adjudication process.
That's determination.
Yes, right. Well, first it's the investigation.
Okay.
But the adjudicator, who is in charge of the adjudication process, will be in charge of everything. So they'll be in charge of the investigation, the determination, and then the declaration of what title the person in question has. Right. Once that is determined, like Alistair said, an adjudication record will be completed. That will be signed and dated by the adjudicator, and also a notice will be given to that effect. Persons who would like to file a petition to object to the finding will have a minimum of 30 days to do so. Okay? If there's no objection, then the adjudicator will sign a certificate of finalization saying that that has been final, and that will move to the Registrar of Lands to be entered onto the register for the first registration. Once there's a first registration, there's no more adjudication after that. So it'll be one and final adjudication for the first registration. If there is an objection, then the person or persons who are objecting will file a petition. The adjudicator will then determine whether, one, the adjudicator can deal with that process by themselves with the tribunal, and the tribunal consists of the adjudicator and two assessors. Both the adjudicator and the assessors will be appointed by the Governor General. If the adjudicator determines that they can deal with that through the tribunal, then they will do so. If the adjudicator determines, well, a committee should be formed to deal with the issue, then that will be done. Once that is completed, then the adjudicator will issue a certificate of finalization or saying that the adjudication is final, and then again the record will go to the registry to be entered.
In essence, what you're saying basically is that it goes through due process so that the person can feel secure that this went through a process and now we have a good title.
Yes, and again, they will have a minimum of 30 days to challenge the
Right.
adjudication.
A minimum, yeah.
A minimum, yes.
Okay.
And it'll be, a date, time, and place will be given where they can come and view the adjudication record or an official copy of it. And then they can, if they decide to object to it, then they can go ahead.
Excellent. So that means that there's due process and persons can feel they have an input and have an opportunity to challenge or just allow it to go through.
Yes, everything will be public, so it'll be a public record, and everything will be public, so persons can object or view.
Excellent. We're going to jump to the rows among us, Madam President. From the industry perspective, ma'am, how significant do you think this introduction of this Land Adjudication Act, how significant it is for real estate in the Bahamas?
Thank you, Darren, and for all the organizers for inviting me. I appreciate being here. I served on the committee 13 years ago under the Honorable Allison Maynard Gibson, and so I was a part of the process. I wasn't a part of the end of it, but I was extremely happy to see that this current government has gotten this over the finish line. There is a lot of work still to be done, and it's a long road ahead of us. But just like everything in life, you got to crawl before you walk. And I feel that this is a huge step in the right direction. Darren, as you may know, being in the industry, and I do see one of my directors here, my secretary, Cara. We know that there are issues all the time. We just had one the other day where an agent put up a property for sale on the multiple listing, and someone called screaming and hollering, "Take it down, it's my property," and da-da-da-da-da. And so, you know, we have a policy at BREA that we immediately take it down and do our own investigation. And of course, one individual had a copy of a conveyance that looked to be 100 years old, and then the other one had a recently stamped and recorded one. And so these are the things that I hope I'm still around to see the work being completed on this registry, because it's so vitally important. And I would love if maybe Mr. Edwards or Mr. Chisnell can speak on the difference in types of title, possessionary versus documentary at some point. But I am just extremely pleased to see this. And I have colleagues in Cayman Islands who are using this system, and it wasn't overnight for them, and it's still a process ongoing.
Right.
But they do see the difference.
Yes. Thank you for that practical example. That really brought it clear. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
The dispute of title, you know. Somebody has one and the other person have it. Which brings us to this gentleman right here from a perspective of title. And I appreciate that you have a banking industry too. And you could throw that in there from the banks. But from a title perspective, how does the Land Adjudication Act improve clarity of ownership? And how should communities be prioritized, in your opinion?
Good afternoon, Darren.
Sir.
Thank you also for the invitation to be here. I feel a little unusual because now I'm being asked about some bills, and I have two of the authors here on the stage with me. So I'm sure they will keep me on my toes. But the way I understand that the bill, to read the Land Adjudication Bill, is it provides the framework for settling any dispute that might exist in land. As we know here in the Bahamas, there are any number of issues we could have, from generational properties on the family islands that have passed along over many, many years without any documentation being issued, to subdivisions that are recognized, as well as others that haven't been recognized or formally plotted out. So we have any number of issues. This process is designed to, the adjudication bill, as I understand it, is designed to look into those matters, come up with a, as I've heard it explained to me, once and for all decision on who the actual property owner will be. The adjudicator will be appointed. I think he has the capacity to appoint 3 other persons, Mr. Chisnell, a demarcator, records examiner, and a surveyor. And between the 3 of them, they will look at all of the records regarding this property, all of the evidence to it, as Mr. Chisnell also said, maybe even visit the area and do some inquiries. And once they've done so, they will then issue this certificate, which will indicate who the property owner will be. From a title perspective, I think that provides sort of a final decision to it. And as he said, looking forward, it makes it a lot easier when you can look at one specific registry and identify the property.
That's great.
And the property owner.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying, it involved different aspects, like Mr. Thompson over here, in terms of, they have to be, the banks require them now, even now, to ensure that there are no encroachments. It's basically a holistic approach. All of those things combined together would basically help with the title to make sure that the title is proper. Because when you're talking about title, you're talking about there are no encroachments, there's no dispute on the property like Carla mentioned, and then from the legal perspective. So thank you for that. So you think that it will reduce disputes?
Very definitely.
So it's a good thing.
Very definitely.
So there's nothing for us to fight. We don't have to go
Not at all.
hold a poll for that and say we don't want it.
That would definitely improve what the real estate agents are suffering with as well, because once you have a registered title,
Yeah.
then you can properly identify the owner.
Right.
And so when sales and transactions are taking place, it eliminates a lot of the.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want this, in the Bahamas, we are mandated to go back to rule of trail by 30 years. Is it 30? 30 years, you have to go back. And so you can imagine, it lengthens the process as well in terms of sales. You want to shorten the process for the seller who wants their money right away. The buyer who doesn't want to wait so long. What is it? You're waiting longer than a pregnancy. 9 months, over 10. That's a human pregnancy. Some are longer. 2 years. Some realtors in the house could testify. But it's not just about us wanting money. People think, oh, the realtor's just behind us and all. And then some people get frustrated with the process with the lawyers, etc. But it's really going to improve our whole system. And the sooner we get there, the better. But it's a process. All these people here. That's why we need to push them along and really encourage them in the work they do. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what you said about the length of transactions. While we appreciate the lawyers, because we can't do our job without them, and we give them a lot of our business. So we should be working in tandem, and I always try and help, and I have helped. I have gone way beyond on many transactions. But like you said, when it's our job to get the transaction over the finish line after doing our negotiations and put it in the hands. But we're still involved, because you got a seller who's, if that's off the market for 9-10 months, they're paying a mortgage or they're incurring expenses, and then the buyer is the same way. I've just had a situation where the buyer was having to extend their rental option, and they were paying 2 months mortgage and still couldn't get into the house. And so it's crazy. And so this is why I'm so passionate about this land registry. I don't want it to be rushed through, but I certainly want it to continue to move with the same vigor that we're seeing now, because the benefits to everybody is huge.
Right, and you hit the nail on the head, President. That's what this is all about. We're not enemies. I'm not an enemy with Alistair. I need Alistair.
Absolutely.
And Alistair needs me. So there's no use us fighting. I heard another realtor testify to somebody, another law, say, y'all getting all the money, y'all getting 6%. We ain't getting 6%, The broker, first of all, you have to split it in 2. That's 3 from one side and the other one 3. Time the broker gets it, that's 1.5, which means getting less than your 2.5, and y'all just went up on your rates. So I mean, we be friends. We all on the same team, man. This animosity is really got to stop, and it's not necessary. Can somebody give me a round of applause? It's the truth. We have to break it down. That's what we're here for. It's no use us being enemies.
And Darren, I will say, I don't like that they're asking for more commission, but I understand why they need more of their fee, and I support that. But when we get it all sorted, because they are now doing simultaneous searches, the way I see this happening is that they're going to be able to do more transactions quicker than they are now, which means I remember Johnny might remember being on the board with me, an old real estate agent who was adamant she did not want the MLS because now she has to work twice as hard to make the same amount of money. She soon found out she's making more money because multiple people are selling her listings while she's going about her own business. And that's the same idea as the land registry.
Yes.
More transactions, quicker transactions result in more money.
This is it. This is it. That's it. You hit the nail on the head. Because, you know, when we're having the technology boom, everybody say, oh, I'm not going to have a job. No, but all these things, you're still going to need lawyers. You're going to need the lawyers. Okay? You're going to need the real estate agents. You're going to need people. You need people. We have people run this place, not just computers. And so even though change, some people are afraid of change. I want to tell you, and guess what? We have an example. We have models, all, like I said to you, in England and Cayman, all around the world. So we have a model. Mr. Chisnell, under Section 3 of the Land Adjudication Act, areas may be declared for adjudication. How should communities be prioritized? Are we going to do all the rich communities first?
Listening to the last few minutes, I started to get worried there. I thought some shots were going to be fired. I've got colleagues over there, but we're outnumbered with HGC right now. I think the point has to be made clear, though, that, and I'm just going to talk about a different topic before your question.
Go ahead.
When I look at the land reform legislation that we have right now, that we're talking about right now, I don't think, and I say this for different reasons, there is any legislation that has been introduced into the Bahamas in the last 20 years, maybe with the exception of value-added tax, that will be as impactful on the Bahamian economy and Bahamian society. And we can talk about how it's going to revolutionize conveyancing practice. I mean, that's without a doubt. We look at what our colleagues are doing in Turks and Caicos, other registered land areas. They close transactions in 14 days. You look at the US market and the figures that came out last week, I think, which showed that the average transaction time, and this is not from finding a buyer to closing, but from listing a property on the market, finding a buyer and closing, the average transaction timeline in the US is 47 days. Our average timeline for a domestic purchaser who doesn't need governmental approval but who's getting financing is 60 to 90 days. So, and that is if you do not run into a title issue. And we have vexing title issues in our process right now. We deal with searches of the land, the registry of records. And Lionel, you can nod your head. You feel the pain and suffering in this. But we do searches of the company's registry, the probate registry, and the Supreme Court registry. And in each of those registries, there are their own unique vexing issues for people carrying out diligence work on title. Our current system is based on 1909 law. What we are modeled on, they revolutionized their law 100 years ago. When you think of how many titles were there back in 1909, how many landowners were there back in 1909, how has our economy grown, and the enormity of the problems we're dealing with now, this is a necessary evolution. And so I look forward to how conveyancing will be impacted, but I think, and we can talk about the other issues or the other benefits really, there's much more going on here than just that.
I almost put on a bow tie this morning because I felt this is a professor kind of thing. So, Mr. Professor, I'm gonna do some homework because that's 60 and 90 feet way much longer in practical sense. That's 60 to 90 days in the Bahamas. I don't know for financing, but I trust you. I'll go and check it out. But we have a senior statesman here, Mr. Donald Thompson. Everybody knows Donald Thompson, the senior surveyor. Mr. Thompson, the Land Adjudication Act introduces a tribunal system, and I hope I didn't take you to leave with this one. But from what you see, how complex are disputes? How complex disputes are likely to be given this tribunal system?
Darren, I too like to thank you for inviting me here today. It's a very timely topic, and we need to get started on this Land Adjudication and Land Registration Act. Secondly, I'd like to thank you too, because it cost me to read the act carefully, because I haven't read it. I didn't read it before I've been invited to come here. As a land surveyor, we're often the first persons to encounter disputes. Long before they become legal matters, many of them start at the boundary peg. The tribunal, we were dealing with the hardest cases, the ones that couldn't be resolved in the field. And after reading the act, I came up with at least 5 reasons I think would be probably will be disputed with complex disputes. The tribunal needs both lawyer and local knowledge. The law requires that the adjudicator to be a property lawyer with 7 years experience, plus 2 local assessors who knows the area's history. The fact Parliament built in both tells you that disputes won't be simple legal questions. They'll involve oral history, community customs, and who people know in the neighborhood who know own land going back decades. Second reason is proving you've owned land for 12, 30, or even 60 years, as the Act asks in some cases. The Act sets different possession timelines depending on land type. For regular private land, it's 12 uninterrupted years. For Crown land, it's 30 years. For foreshore and beachfront property, it's 60 years, proving that the level of continuous possession, often without documents across multiple generations, is generally difficult and fact-heavy. Another reason is the 2 types of disputed land that fees the tribunal. The demarcator handles boundary disputes in the field first. The records officer handles the competing ownership claims. Only the ones that they cannot resolve get escalated to the tribunal. That means by the time a case reaches the adjudicator, it's already a hard one. The easy ones get sorted out earlier. Another reason is the missing paper trails are the norm, not the exception. To get absolute title, you need a chain of documents going back at least 30 years, starting from a Crown grant, certificate of title, or similar. In Family Islands and other Nassau areas, many landowners don't have any kind of paperwork. The cases will rely on witness testimony, possession to evidence, old photographs, rather than documents. That creates layered, time-consuming hearings. And the last reason is the absent owners add another layer of disputes. Many Bahamians live overseas. The law allows video conferences, appearances, but cross-border ownership creates heirs and absentee claimants all add to complications, especially the family island lands where multiple heirs is different in different countries where they have competing interests. And finally, the most complex disputes will involve being long-held informal possessions with no paper trails, competing family heirs, fragmented lots in dense neighborhoods, coastal and foreshore boundaries, which physical changes over time create that carry 60 years threshold. The system is designed for exactly these hard cases, and the quality of surveying work done up front will determine how many of these reach tribunal versus being resolved in the field.
Take a deep breath. That's a lot of, but listen, there is a solution.
Darren, if I could just say something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. While there will be issues in terms of title competition between different claimants. I anticipate that the majority of cases will be without issue. Just like now, I mean, on a daily basis, people are selling and purchasing properties without issue. That doesn't make the court, that doesn't come to light. That will be the same, I anticipate, with the land registration.
Okay.
The only issues you will have is where there is competing claims, and that will go to the tribunal. Where there's no claims, where there's no issues, the tribunal will not be necessary. Once the adjudicator is satisfied and there's no issue, then that will be signed off and go towards registration. So even though, given the state of land law in the Bahamas, there will be issues, we anticipate that the majority will be without issues. So there is hope.
Thank you. Thank you for simplifying that as well. So basically, on a practical standpoint, people right now one way they could do, Mr. Thompson, just go and get a survey of your property. Make sure once you survey your property now, you identify whether you have an encroachment now. If you solve that now, that would save you some time in the future, eh?
Yes, well, most banks now are asking for legal boundary surveys.
Right.
Reports. And in cases like Scotia, one of my biggest clients, they ask for affidavits from the surveyors to verify boundaries and reports.
Excellent. So persons can start on this now, basically. That's the point. That's the power you have. You could get Mr. Thompson right now. You have a desk set up. Well, yeah, he's here. He's here. You can basically get, in fact, now that we find when we list property, sometimes that's some of the holdup. The seller. You should have already checked this stuff. Make sure you have a good, proper, no encroachment, et cetera, so that when you get down the road, when you have to wait. So you make sure those things ahead of time. And I'm
Just sorry to keep butting in.
No, go ahead.
Like Mr. Thompson said, also under the Act, it puts an obligation on the owner to maintain the boundaries. And so that's a specific obligation of the owner under the Act. So they will be responsible for maintaining the boundaries. And whatever is registered in terms of the boundaries, for that to shift, it must be another registration. So even if there's an encroachment, that will not be legal unless the adjustment is legally made by the registration, by what we call a mutation, adjusting the boundaries, okay? So,
excellent.
yeah.
Excellent, excellent. I'm going to skip over some of these questions, and I like what the president said about having another discussion about the documentary title possession. Maybe Bria would arrange that, or some other real estate company, or H.E. Christie, but another time. But that's a lot right there. I'll be running out of time. But I want to jump down to Mr. Haven as we get ready to close. Yeah, questions? Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
So I have a question. This is maybe for the gentleman over here, I'm not sure, but in the Out Islands, we know there's a lot of mixed up titles, and there are titles that are maybe like 7/8 good, where the people bought it and they bought all the interest. They got 7/8 interest, but the 1/8 interest, no one knows where they are. So when that comes up to adjudication, how do you anticipate that being adjudicated? When if the guy doesn't show up and you have a documented 7/8 interest and 1/8 doesn't show up, and then the other is what happens if the 1/8 interest does show up and the 7/8 interest, how are they going to adjudicate that?
While we delegate that, I want Mr. Facilitator to just take a position at the questions to happen. Yes.
Okay.
You can go. Any of the panelists you want to direct it to, John, or?
I was thinking, the
Edwards,
gentleman
okay.
here who's, yeah.
All right. Through the adjudication process, the title to the parcel in question will be determined. It will be determined on an absolute basis, those that can prove legal title. And if they cannot prove legal title, then they will be proven on a possessory basis. So I don't know if that helps to answer your question, but.
But what about the 1/8 person? You got 7/8 and 1/8, how does that?
Right.
They just say the 7/8 person's got it and the 1/8 is out, or?
Right. Well, again, that will be for the adjudicator to decide based on whatever evidence they have before them. If the adjudicator is unable to come to a decision, then again, he can recommend a committee to be formed to determine, or if he believes that he, with the tribunal, could determine it, then he'll do that. But it's difficult to say in a hypothetical basis without having the evidence before to say who will get the title.
Hello. This is a two-part question. One, has any adjudication area been established? And two, would it be possible for any new subdivision or condominium to automatically become part of the adjudication process, since you're starting with property that will soon be divided into multiple parcels or lots? I think a new developer, that would be a great sales tool if the new condominiums or subdivisions could be put into the system immediately, not having to wait for an overall adjudication of an area.
All right. We have identified area to start with the adjudication. Obviously, for obvious reasons, I cannot disclose that at this time. But what we decide on the task force, the Land Task Force Committee, in our due diligence, it was recommended to us not to use an ad hoc basis of, or what they call sporadic adjudication, but rather to go with a systematic adjudication. So what we're going to be doing is going through with a systematic adjudication. So an area will be declared, adjudication area will be declared. We will go through the adjudication process for all the parcels in that area, and then we will complete, and we will move along. Now, it doesn't mean that it'll go just from one area right to the next. One area may be chosen here, another adjudication area may be chosen here. But what we're not going to do is jump just around to create a, because to create a sporadic type system, because again, jurisdictions that have done that found that it's chaotic and it actually lengthens the process rather than expedite it.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. Mr. Seymour, I just want to say thank you for this event. My name is Anna Moss from Legacy Legal. And as an attorney in this space, I have lots of questions, but I appreciate that time is against us. So one I will ask is, as it relates to the possessory title, will it do away with the Quieting Titles Act and the process under the Act? Secondly, I know the Act talks about a provisional title. What would be the minimum amount of years to fall under this provisional title? And this is outside of the legal space, but I know the Act also talks about changing the demarcation of property. Will you be working along with town planning, for example, to say adjust roads for, say, better traffic management, et cetera, as a part of this demarcation process? There's lots more questions.
I was feeling you were working very hard there, Petrocelli. I'm happy to help with some of that. And also, I'm happy to talk after we're done in the interest of time. Those are a lot of really good questions. And I think that we thought about how the land register is going to have to interface with other government departments. And that's absolutely going to have to happen. Where there are severance approvals, where there are roads moved, there's going to have to be a relationship between departments, and they're going to have to figure out how to address that. It's my understanding that the Quieting Title Act is not going to fall away. It's going to be a path, a process that's available to people who need to claim and seek to determine land ownership through that avenue. And you have to remember that there will be dispute resolution, there will be determinations made under the Adjudication Act, but if you're not in an adjudication area and you need to regularize your title and have a good title, well, rather than waiting for adjudication to occur at one point down the road, you're going to go and quiet your title. when it comes to how title is dealt with, where you have a possessory interest, the Act has a very important section in it, which is Section 21, and that deals with the principles of adjudication. And what it contemplates is that there's a determination that's going to be made of who a parcel owner is, and that they have absolute title to a particular parcel. And we've touched on this a little bit in the discussion, but there are different avenues to how someone would be determined to be an absolute owner. Now, one of those avenues is the classic approach that we know of and is part of our conveyancing practice now, that if someone has good documentary title going back to a root, typically a deed not less than 30 years, then they will be recognized to have absolute title. But the other alternative there is that the Act contemplates that if someone has open, peaceful possession of property, and it's for more than the minimum statutory period, that they can be recognized to be a parcel owner and have absolute title. And I think that is enormously important for the Bahamas, for our future, because if we are honest, we're gonna recognize that there are thousands of Bahamians or thousands of parcels where people in possession have a very real, continuous, long-standing connection to that land, but their documentary title is either defective or non-existent. And what economists always refer to that is in an economy, they refer to it as dead capital or an inert economic asset. And so it's where someone who has no title or bad title but effective ownership, and they can't sell it, they can't leverage it, they can't borrow to repair their home, they can't borrow to build a business, they have no financial empowerment from the land they own. And so the Act creates this mechanism to start dealing with this vexing issue where people's long-standing possession will be recognized. And whether possessory title will get them through the gateway of being made a recognized parcel owner and added to the register, it will depend on their possession and the kind of land. But it is entirely possible that someone who has been on private land for in excess of 12 years, and they satisfy all the requirements of the Act, will at the end of the day be added to the register as a proprietor, which means they are deemed to be vested with absolute title to that property that prior to that moment, they only had a possessory interest in.
I just want to clarify something. Alistair is correct when he says that the quieting will not stop. The quieting itself will not stop, but the Quieting Titles Act will eventually become obsolete, because once every parcel in the Bahamas has been adjudicated, then any possessory interest then will fall under the Registered Land Act. In the common law system that we have that came out of the UK, there's a saying, possession is 9/10 of the law. So unless a person sees about their property, monitors it, make sure no one is on it, if a person goes into open, continuous possession undisturbed for the 12-year required under the Limitation Act, they can apply to be recognized as the legal title owner. So that will not change. However, the process by which that is done will, again, after every parcel has been adjudicated, it will not come under the Quieting Titles Act. It will come by an application to the registrar to be recognized as the legal title owner because of undisturbed, continuous, open possession for the 12 years. With the question that the person asked earlier, under the Limitation Act, for private land, if a person is in open possession, continuous, undisturbed for 12 years or more, they can apply to be recognized as the title owner. Under the Registration Act, let's say the person was occupying it for 7 years, they can apply to be registered as the provisional owner. And so they will be registered as the provisional owner. If after they're registered, 5 years pass and the legal owner doesn't come and say, listen, this is my property, this person, blah, 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 that person can, after the 5 years, come and apply to the registrar to then be registered as the absolute owner. And so once that is done, then the legal title owner would have lost their title to that land. With regards to, you had mentioned something about roads and other stuff. The Registered Land Act does not dispose of any existing law that exists. So with regards to the Planning and Subdivision Act and all the other acts that put requirements on persons to develop, subdivide, those will still be maintained, and they will have to be shown to the registrar that those conditions were met before the parcel would be registered.
Yeah.
I mean, it's needed, it's a lot. But they're answering it very well. And one of the things I wanted to say, which is why I went back to the original question, what he said, what was the original intent? And then also I wanted to respond of what you said in terms of, does that include generational property? So many questions. And I see our international speaker is going to be, he's next in line, but probably on his time. I know you have a question. What I'm going to do, our facilitator, we didn't intend to do it like this. I'd given him some instructions. What I'm going to ask is, who's also H.E. Christie agent, but also has a great experience in law, to facilitate the remaining of those questions. Save your question, Mr. Shall we take one? Let's take more questions. He's coming all the way from America for this. You're not coming up now. Just ask your question. We're going to take his question. Mr. Yes. Peter.
If there was a range of a timeline for what you guys have described so brilliantly from the adjudication, so say somebody on the island brings some documentation in and they're saying they want this piece of land or parcel adjudicated and registered,
Mike.
what is an approximate timeline, if anyone can answer that?
Well, the adjudication, like I said, is going to be systematic. So no, for the first registration, no one can just come up voluntarily. An area will be declared, and once that area is declared by the minister, then all persons who claim an interest in land in that area then will be responsible to bring forward their documents, present it, and that will be viewed and adjudicated upon. So there's no, for the first registration, there's no voluntary action that a person can do. They will just have to wait until that area is declared to be adjudication area. It will be advertised and on social media, in the Gazette, in the newspapers, and for Family Island residents, it will be posted in the administrator's office, mandated for a minimum of 3 consecutive weeks, in addition to the other forms of notice.
Yeah, I'm going to submit to our president and also the president of H.E. Christie on when we do the part 2, we'd have to do it, you know, of this. But I'm going to ask Mr. Sean, Albert is one of our agents. I'm going to ask Sean to facilitate any other questions person may have. Of course, Graham Thompson is also here. The desk is here. Albert is the last one on the floor. Just quickly, Albert, and then we're going to have closing comments by our esteemed panelists.
All right, thanks. Yeah, just a very quick question. I know that Mr. Edwards talked about there's a minimum of 30 days in which someone can object before the land is registered. Where will they see this land to be registered? Is it going to be published? How will they know basically where this is happening?
Yes, everything will be published. It's a public, the adjudication and registration is a public act. So the demarcation maps, the adjudication record, the documents that would have been presented, all of that will be a public document for people to view and object or whatever, and for that minimum 30-day period. A date, a place, and a time will be given notice, so it'll be public. So what The adjudication process, once it takes place, a public place within there will be set up where persons can come. So let's say, for instance, if there's a public library, if there's a school, it'll be set up where the records officer, the demarcators, and the other persons will be, and so persons can come and present their claim. It is very likely that that will be the place where they can come and view the adjudication record.
So basically,
No, the record itself will be a public document from when they can come. The notice that the adjudication record has been completed, it will be gazetted and publicized.
just before our closing comments, Mr. Facilitator, now, did you have any thoughts that you want to, that we missed?
This is the easiest facilitation I've ever had. This is a very organized group. Everyone jumped up, got in line, and I guess time is too short for any more questions.
I mean, I'm bowing to you.
Well, you know, I had one for the panel. There was at one time some concern by the Civil Society of the Bahamas that the lack of or the existence of unsurveyed property might still be exclusionary to certain generational owners. I imagine that in everything that's happened since, I think that was back when these were just bills. I imagine that in all of these systems and procedures that you've been discussing, there will be some provision for that. So if anyone wanted to comment on that.
I don't understand fully your question.
Yeah, so the Civil Society of the Bahamas had a meeting and they mentioned that there was concern that underrepresented, underfinanced, or people with lack of financial ability might have trouble with unsurveyed properties. And so the question is whether the acts have provision where they don't need to expend the money to get them surveyed. Will the various departments be able to provide that?
Yeah, well, the adjudication is going to be totally publicly funded, so you don't, the parcel owners will not have to do anything. The demarcators are actually surveyors that will go out and survey. You will have a system where certain properties are properly surveyed, so the demarcators will only have to verify the boundaries. But in terms of the survey, reviewing the title, and everything else associating with the adjudication will be publicly funded, and so nobody has to pay for anything.
Outstanding. Yeah, so that's really going to help a number of people that were underserved in the past. Does anybody know who Sir Robert Richard Torrens was? He was an Australian in the late 1800s who developed the whole system or proposed it in South Australia for the registration of land similar to the registration of ships. So we owe that to him. In fact, in most US states, it's known as the Torrens system for registering land. Although interestingly, Darren, you mentioned comparative jurisdictions. Massachusetts, where I practiced before I moved back here, has the Torrens systems, as does New York, Florida. California, interestingly, has the system, but it's not utilized in most cases. In most cases, they do what we've been doing all this time. So in the land of efficiency and advancement, the United States, you'd think that everyone would have moved that way, but they haven't. And in point of fact, Pennsylvania and Louisiana do not have a register system. They're all recorded systems. So that's and I think our nearest neighbor and most recent adoptee is Bermuda, I think 2011. So there'll be some comparative notes from them perhaps, and maybe reach out to professionals there.
Excellent.
Anyway, I know time is short.
Closing comments, Madam President?
Well, I had two questions that I can put out there and they can be answered later, and then I can say my things. For the bankers, if an individual has a possessionary title and then during the search by the attorney, they determine it's an absolute because there may have been the 12-year period uninterrupted, will the banks be looking at that and considering financing on that? That's one question. And I still don't quite understand how the Quieting Act can still be operational and have the registry be effective. I hear what you say, that eventually it will fall away, but there are aspects, and let's be real, loopholes in that people take advantage of now that I see as being contradictory to what we're trying to achieve with the registry. But they're my two questions. If someone could answer them, that would be great, even if they just answer them in the chat group, Darren. But I would just like to thank Darren and the organizers for this event. Like Darren said, this needs to be expanded on. It needs a wider audience than what's here, because the information that's been shared today is so impactful to everybody, because everybody has, whether they own land or have some type of interest, this impacts your life. So thank you for doing it.
I'm going to allow the panelists, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last word to the president. We have some discretion with time. We're going to be all right. Go ahead, Mr. Chisholm. Do you want to answer her question, or just say closing words?
Yeah, actually, David, I think, has a question, if you want to take one.
I'm going to defer to Sean for David for now. Yeah.
If you're happy, that's fine.
Yes, you can take care of it. You can take it. I mean, no, you can, yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Chisholm, with your closing comments so we can see with our online audience.
Yeah, just to return to the questions that were mentioned just now, I think there are a lot of issues potentially that we're going to have to work through. Different industries, different sectors are going to have to think about how this is going to affect them. I think it's interesting that the issue of the bank came up, because I think banks right now need to start looking down the road. Most of the mortgage portfolios in this country are organized by borrower name. And so if Donald has a mortgage, it's going to be filed under Thompson. It's not going to be filed by his residence in Ocean Club. I just put you there for that. But what I mean to say is now banks need to start thinking, well, if adjudication moves into Ocean Club, how are we going to make it known, how are we internally going to know that we need to go and declare our mortgage interest for that residence in that adjudication area? So there are a lot of issues that are going to come up here. In terms of Quieting Title Act, the only thing I would have corrected or improved upon with what Petruccelli said is that the Quieting Title Act will become obsolete. The only thing I had there is, mercifully, one day it will become obsolete. It plagues us with problems. We know that. It is also not the quick fix that many Bahamians need in order to regularize their title, to cure title defects. We need something different in reality now. We need to find a way to move people from possessory title to being on the register.
Just to break it down to someone who's listening and understand what we're talking about. You're talking about this possessory title. Somebody going and dwelling on a piece of land, they don't have any papers for it, and they're claiming because they've been there for 12 years, they own this property.
I mean, let's paint a picture here, right? Let's work through an example very quickly. You imagine Mr. Rule in Rollville in Exuma, and he's got a farm, 3 acres on the beach. His granddaddy lived there, built the farm. His daddy lived there, died. He lives there now. Neither estate was probated, but everyone knows that's Mr. Roll's farm. Okay? He's been there his whole life, and he doesn't have title. He was told he had to probate his father's estate. Lawyer in Nassau told him how much it cost. He said, I can't do that. Now, that acreage, that farm on the beach in Exuma has real value, but he can't go to Scotiabank in Georgetown to get a mortgage, can he? Because he doesn't have good title. So he could go and he could quiet this title, but that's costly, and that involves tremendous effort, and that's not a realistic solution for him. And so what this act contemplates is that the adjudication panel is going to go into this area, and they're going to meet with the island administrator, they're going to meet with the pastor and the school teacher and everyone who lives around him, and they're going to say, that's Mr. Roll's property. And that then will result in him being recognized as the parcel owner and added to the register as having absolute title. And all of a sudden, Mr. Roll has the ability to give clean title to his children if he wishes, or he could go to Scotiabank and get a mortgage and build a business, and he's financially empowered.
Excellent.
And so the Quieting Title Act, now, until the adjudication panel goes into Rollville to deal with adjudication there, his only avenue is the Quieting Title Act. But once that happens, once that area is registered land, the Quieting Title Act will have no application. So if I had to do what might be my closing remark here, is I think that when you look at the spirit and the intent of adjudication, there's a practical element to it, but there's also an aspirational theme. And I think the practical side is easy to see. It is the old expression of garbage in, garbage out. If you're building a database and you're using inaccurate information or it's incomplete, you can never rely on the results. And we need the register to reflect the actual interests that exist in the community. But the register needs to do that so it's correct, fair, and accurate. And I think that's where we see the aspirational side of this. This is a process which is supposed to be community-oriented. It's supposed to be community-driven. It's supposed to be consultative. It's supposed to be collaborative. It's supposed to recognize that we as Bahamians are very connected to our land. It's not just an economic asset. It's something we have powerful emotional connection to. And that has to come out in the adjudication process. And I think that that is what when you step back away from all the statutory provisions, that's the theme you're going to see, that we're regularizing this in a systematic way for the benefit of Bahamians.
Excellent.
Darren, sorry, as there's one gentleman at the mic, can we take his one last question? Or do you want to?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, rather. My name is David Wilson. I'm a trained property appraiser, but I'm from Jamaica, and I was working in the government for at least 15 years, where we were instrumental in dealing with land registration issues. I was also part of a team that dealt with systematic land registration programs. And I would say one of the primary issues that I found, I've only been here in Bahamas for a year now, but as an appraiser, one of the first things I look for when doing an appraisal is the registered title, or to establish ownership of a property. And I found it challenging when I recognized there wasn't a singular documentation that entailed the ownership for properties throughout the Bahamas. And I would say one of the primary issues is that wealth creation lies in the assets that you have. And we know that one of the primary assets that creates wealth is property. And if we can't establish ownership for property, then you have a lot of persons who won't be able to create wealth for themselves because they cannot establish, am I the owner of this property or not? And we also, in our systematic land registration program, what we did was the government declared areas, as the gentleman was saying earlier, and they had adjudication committees, but then one of the primary issues was that persons couldn't afford to obtain a registered title of land, a registered title rather. And what the government did was they funded the program wherein they got surveyors on board, lawyers on board to do the adjudication. And then now the surveyors would go out, survey the properties. The adjudication committee goes through with establishing the ownership. And then now they create a registered title. And what the government did was to fund this program, and then the property owner would now pay a fee over the years to cover the costs associated with registering these properties. So in a sense, there's a registered title, and the government lodges what they call a caveat against the property to say no transaction can be done on this property until you've completed payment.
Yes.
So I was just wondering if there's any provisions here or any thought of including anything like this where the government would consider to create a singular title to establish ownership of land so that any transaction dealing on a property is recorded against the deed. So if anyone has an interest in the property, it is recorded against the deed.
That is exactly what the land registration will do. It will create the land register as the sole authority on the title to that particular parcel, and no disposition, transfer, or any other dealings can be done unless it is registered. So it does exactly that.
All right, thank you.
I just want to add to that a thank you to you as well, because in determining the legislation that was going to be adopted, the Bahamas consulted with Jamaica, Turks and Caicos, was it Antigua? Or
Cayman Islands and
Cayman-
Barbados.
Yeah. And actually, Jamaica was hugely helpful in hosting some of the members of the committee to understand how they implemented the system they have.
Yeah, and in fact, we're going to do a study tour there. We had one scheduled, but it had to be canceled. So, probably in June or so, we're gonna go down there to view their system.
Excellent. Thank you, Norwich, for that call. And thank you, sir. That's a great company. He's a part of BCOS. They were part of the out there. So thank you, sir, and for that question. We appreciate it. Clerk, to our closing comments. Mr. Thompson, just 1 minute for everybody, please.
Thanks. The entire registered and land database is built on top of demarcation maps, which are built by surveyors. If the surveys are poor, the registry is poor, that's a fact, right? So the key chain to understand is the adjudication survey, then you go to demarcation maps. From there you go to registry maps, then you go to the land registry, then you get your title. And the new system tracks and goes back to the system, to the survey done by the survey, the adjudication stage. Any errors made during the adjudication stage is embedded in the register, and that's something we got to be very closely for, because if the surveys are bad, it disrupts the whole accuracy of the registry. And so it's important that all of the surveys that's done are done properly, done within the Land Registration Act and the Land Surveyors Act and regulations. The surveyors are properly registered and trained, and so we can have a proper registry going forward.
So they're telling me that Zenus, tell Zenus come inside. They can record this information for the people, and we're going to send them the link as well. We have this link. This is on the YouTube page. It's going to be on the H.C. Christie page, on my page. Last words, Mr. Haven.
Okay, good. First of all, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this discussion. From a practicality standpoint, even notwithstanding the land registration bill, if you are a property owner that's not residing on the property that you own, or you have property outside of where you reside, there are a couple of things that's imperative based on all of the information that's been spoken about occupancy. It's imperative that you visit your property on a regular basis, that you check it out. Number one. Number two, it's important that you have your property surveyed so that you can match what's on the paper with what's on the land. That's vitally important. And the third step to providing some level of security to your title is to seek title insurance. If you're unfamiliar with title insurance, health insurance protects you most things protect you for what is about to happen, or it protects you in the future. You buy house insurance, it protects you against any upcoming event, any fires or anything. If you buy health insurance, it protects you against something that you would incur. Title insurance protects you going back. From the day you get the ownership of that title, it provides an insurance that covers your interest in that property, and it protects you against any challenges that you may face from somebody about your property.
Very practical.
So it's something that you should very seriously contemplate when you are seeking to purchase, or if you own property,
So
to
could
contemplate
they
title
go and get
insurance.
title insurance from Colina or?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Quite a number of the law firms would carry title insurance. CompuTitle Limited as well does.
Okay, come to
carry
you.
title insurance. I
You here?
wasn't going to say that, Darren, but
Okay.
if you wanted to make that advertisement for me,
Listen.
I'd be happy.
The people, they be looking for help. You're right here. Let's, give them the help. So I love that, the practical. But after all this talk, what we could do, we could get our survey. Donald's right here. Come get your
Get your insurance.
right here.
And then, of course, it's always important that you seek legal counsel whenever you're dealing
Right
with
here.
any issue.
Okay, thank you.
So we've covered all the people on.
Yes. Petroselli, you want to say something else, or are you good?
Yeah, I don't want to be a killer, but anyhow.
We got to do a part two.
Let me say. Let me say, with the land registration system, there will be no need for title insurance because the government will guarantee the title. The gentleman spoke about the torrents-based system. What we're putting in place is a torrents-based system, and it's based on 3 principles. It's based on a mirror principle, so it mirrors what exists. It's based on a curtain principle, meaning that you do not have to look behind the register to determine title. Whatever is on the register, you can take as is, and it's built on the insurance principle, meaning that if you suffer some loss from an error on the register, the government will indemnify you if the error was not of your causing, okay? So once the land registration is up and an area is registered, then that area, there will be no need for title insurance because the government will guarantee. Also, with regards to the Quieting Title Act and the regular system, what we call an unregistered system now, a deed and document system, common law system, those 3 names refer to the present system we have now. For the whole Bahamas to be adjudicated and then entered on the register will take years. In the meantime, you will have a parallel system running. So you will have a system that we have now, the regular deed and document system, and only and unless an area is adjudicated and entered on the register, that changes into the registered system. And so gradually, it'll go to the whole Bahamas, and everything will be adjudicated and entered on the register. But until that time, you'll have 2 parallel systems running. And so once that occurs, the Quieting Titles Act will continue to apply to those areas that are not on the register. I just want to finally say, one of the main reasons that Sir Robert Torrance, who was, I think, the governor of the colony of Western Australia at the time, I don't quote me on the exact, but one of the main reasons he established the torrents-based system was because of fraud, okay? The registered system will eliminate a lot of the fraud that's associated with the deed and document system you have now, because everything will be transparent, public, and on the register. And again, the government will guarantee the title that's on the register. And so, like Alistair stated earlier, this is a phenomenal time. We're changing to a system that in some countries has been for decades. Darren mentioned from the 60s, when we were on the land reform task force, like Alistair said, one of the jurisdictions we spoke with was Turks and Caicos. When we spoke with them, they were shocked because they took our draft bills from the 1960s and made it their registration and adjudication law. So they were a bit, querying why we were seeking to speak with them. So again, it's a phenomenal time. It's a great achievement, and we intend to push ahead as quickly as we can, but as cautiously as we can.
You don't want to miss the next sessions we have. We have Mr. Dwight Burrows here, and also we have Mr. Peter Anthony. If you're a realtor, you need to be in the room. You need to stay in the room. There's going to be some secrets that are going to be revealed. You do not want to miss it. Oh, I'm not lying. It's the truth. Please, somebody ask Mr. John Christie to talk with ZNS. They should be here recording this, but if they want a private interview, please let Mr. John Christie handle it. He can do that. Also, last word, Madam President, and then be done.
Just want to say thanks again to everyone who organized this and for putting this panel together. I think we've all learned something today, and I think we're all very optimistic of where the future lies in terms of land registry. And I'm looking forward to seeing the continued progress, and I hope it doesn't get stalled moving forward. So, thank you.
Sorry, Dan, just let me say, we will be doing public relations shortly, and so we will have town hall meetings. We will appear on different talk shows, et cetera, to promote and educate the public as to what is the new changes that will come about with the Land Registration and Land Adjudication Act.
Please give our panelists a round of applause. We're going to ask them to take a picture by the BRX with their presidents. These also getting those awards that we mentioned earlier. I don't have time to go into all of that, but you know we were talking about them being lights. Have they enlightened you today? Okay, so you think they're entitled to that what you call it, the rose gold? That rose gold, and more, and more. Thank you. Take your businesses, and these are great people, and let's be a better Bahamas.
We wish to thank Mr. Chisno, Mr. Edwards, Ms. Sweeting, Mr. Haven, and Mr. Thompson. One more round of applause for our panelists. We're moving now very swiftly into our international development opportunities, asking all the realtors to come forward and listen to this presentation. Mr. Peter Anthony is going to be introduced, and then he'll be our next speaking voice. Shortly thereafter, Dwight Burrows will come, the Managing Director of RBC Finco, with Pathways to Home Ownership. Stick with us. Still got great stuff to come.
Peter Anthony Carey is a proud Bahamian native whose appreciation for West Indian culture and lifestyle shapes his refined professional perspective. With a diverse background spanning healthcare and fashion, he built a strong foundation in branding, public relations, and events, seamlessly blending creativity with strategic business insight. His keen eye for detail and elevated aesthetic have led to collaborations with some of the world's most iconic luxury brands, ultimately guiding his transition into real estate, where he specializes in new development at Douglas Elliman. Passionate about pre-construction, Peter Anthony is committed to helping investors and future homeowners fully understand the value, vision, and long-term professional of their investments, delivering a thoughtful, advisory-driven approach to luxury real estate. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Peter Anthony.
Hey guys, how are you doing today? Good, good, good. I'm going to do a quick presentation of the project that I'm representing. As the speaker said, I am with Douglas Elliman out of Miami, Florida. There's a couple of gems and secrets I'll drop. We have a couple of projects that we are working with here in the Bahamas as well that are going to be new development projects, and I'll give you a little sneak peek into that. Douglas Elliman is a global firm that is based in Miami and New York, and we've got about 80 different development projects that we head up, and we are exclusively in charge of the sales and marketing for the projects. So as realtors, if there's realtors in the room, you know, we're always looking for expanded opportunities, ways to make money, and ways to expand our income and our money flow, correct? All right, so as international development goes, I think that very much as a Bahamian, if you're looking at trying to understand how to make a little bit more money, my primary job is to connect with realtors like yourselves. Obviously, as projects, we're doing sales and marketing activities and we're trying to attract direct buyers. However, 80% statistically, 80% of our transactions come through a co-broker relationship. So that means my primary job is to connect with realtors like yourself from all over the world. It doesn't matter where you reside. We connect with realtors in Turkey, Colombia. I've been traveling to Brazil and Mexico quite often because we see a very active buyer pool in those areas. And in the Bahamas, we are a very international location for people from all over the world. So these are opportunities as Bahamian realtors that you can say, hey, if you're looking for opportunities, whether it be here in the Bahamas or out of the Bahamas, which I'm in Miami and this is right in our backyard, you're able to capitalize on that, right? So, like I said, 80 projects we have, and that means if we average 2,000 or 200 units of those 80 projects, we've got 16,000 units to sell. One of those units can yield a six-figure commission because we pay 6%. Now, our goal is to train realtors of how to sell, identifying projects that they want to sell. The one I happen to be representing today is called the Cloud One. It's at a very good price point, $490,000 for studios, and then up to about $2.5 million for our 3 bedrooms. So if you're selling at 6%, you're selling one unit in the 3-bedroom unit at $2 million. What's that commission? $120,000, right? So as you can see, when you're selling in pre-construction, it is a very lucrative thing for a realtor to understand. It can be very overwhelming because we do have so many projects, because that's just in our portfolio. But in Miami in total, we've got about 200 new developments. So what we always tell our realtors is to make sure that you are understanding a project through and through and treat it like it's your personal listing. We provide materials for you guys that are going to be unbranded marketing materials. So you put your name, your face, your number on all of that unbranded marketing material and sell, and bring them to me. I'm not in competition with you because why? I work directly for the developer, so I get paid by him. So I'm not looking at your money. You're looking at your money, and I'm only helping facilitate that sale and educating your client or your investor on that particular investment. So I'll go into a little bit about my project, and like I said, with the commission structure, we pay 6%. I'm so proud to be here with HG Christie today because they have partnered with me to do this particular listing in the Bahamas. So you would work with them as if they were me. So if you had clients, you would go to Darren. He is very versed on this project. He'll bring the clients to me. We can do Zoom presentations. If you're in Miami, you can come into our sales gallery. You can look, touch, and feel all of the materials. We have a model kitchen and bath, a full presentation. We sell the future of what this could be, but from an investment standpoint, pre-construction, I think, is a very lucrative way for brokers and realtors and agents to really go into. We also have in-house financing. You can use whatever financing you want, but it's often easier if you have an expat, if you have a foreign national getting financing. For me in the States, as you guys know, we've got something called a credit score, a FICO score. When you're getting finance for pre-construction, you do not need that if you are a foreign national. You just have to prove that your buyer is solvent and he has money. He's got some sort of ingress into his checking account. 3 months, 6 months is what they ask for. And Douglas Elliman or any other financing company, mortgage company in the United States will be able to provide a loan for them. All right? So we'll talk a little bit about the Cloud One. Located in Wynwood, we've got 85 different residences. It is going to be a hotel and residences, but it is not going to be a condo hotel, okay? So what does that mean? It means that the hotel is completely separate and that you cannot enter your residences into the hotel pool. We see an influx of a lot of Airbnb coming. I think in Bahamas in particular, this is a much needed inventory class for short-term rentals. But in Miami, we are seeing a lot of Airbnb product coming of that product type in the next 1, 2, 3 years, which is going to create an oversaturation in the market. So this particular project is a very boutique project. It's 85 residences. It's perfect for a second home for somebody who does want to capitalize on some short-term rental, meaning that you can rent it monthly, but it is not an Airbnb project that you can rent nightly. Does that make sense? Okay, so those are our rental restrictions. Here are the two visionaries behind our project, Ralph Bushel and Sebastian Luke. They're out of Germany. Again, people are seeing the value proposition of investing and developing in Miami just because of what is going on geopolitically. We talked about that this morning. What's going on in Dubai, the Middle East. The Bahamas, Miami are perfect, are ripe for the picking right now when it comes for investment opportunities. So even these guys, they're top developers in Munich. They have come to Miami to put this building up. They've been in the game for about 60 years. Ralph is the #1 developer in Munich, Germany, building the branded residences called Motel One, or branded hotels called the Cloud One and Motel One. So they're bringing their first project to Miami, and we're very excited to have them. If you deal with clients that have dealt with pre-construction before, you will see and know and have to start to educate them that the developer matters, right? It's not just putting up a building. How do we know this building is actually going to come to fruition? It matters about the history of the developer, what have they done in the past, and what does their financial portfolio look like, okay? These are the locations of the Cloud One all over the world. They're in Europe. We currently have one in New York, and then we're going to be opening the 7th location in Miami in 2028. In the meantime, in 2026 and 2027, there'll also be hotels located in Lisbon, Portugal, Nice, France, and Vienna, or Venice, Italy. All right, so this is a branded project that is going to be done in 2028, and there will be some benefits of ownership. So if you do have a client that comes in and they're traveling to any of these locations, they will have some benefits of ownerships where they can use the amenity spaces and things like that at the other locations around the world. All right. I'd like to talk a little bit about Wynwood, the neighborhood, just because it is anybody familiar with Wynwood in Miami? It's like the arts and culture district, you know, okay. So it's very centrally located to the design district, Edgewater, even South Beach, okay? So we're really in the urban core of Miami, and we are the sort of arts and culture and culinary district, right? So we have a lot of commercial development, but we do not have a lot of residential development. So this is why the developers have done their research and they're looking for places to invest. And we currently in this neighborhood have the lowest price per square foot, which is a very attractive proposition for a investor. If you're looking in areas like Brickell that are worldwide, you know, known worldwide, Brickell, South Beach, Bay Harbor Islands, those places right now are up to about $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 a square foot is what you're paying. In our neighborhood right now, we're about $1,050, $1,100 a square foot, all right? So if you're, again, looking for that value proposition, getting it in a neighborhood that's maybe not as developed as a Brickell, but in the coming years, 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a higher rate of return on your investment. Wynwood is obviously known for its arts and its culture, its culinary scene. Here's some of the statistics that I really want to bring to your attention. We've got 6 million worth of annual visitors that come in. So that means Wynwood Walls is one of the largest outdoor art museums. So it's known and recognized internationally. So this brings in a lot of tourism to this area. $590 million go into visitor spending. 70 plus art galleries, and behind the project that I'm representing, we have $1 billion planned development coming in. So again, this is behind the project. So these price per square foot that I'm quoting you right now at $1,050, $1,100 a square foot, 2-3 years from now, that's going to be up to $1,200, $1,300 a square foot, all right? So again, a value proposition for your investors. This is, if you're not familiar with Miami, we're right in the urban core. You can see we're about 12 minutes away from the airport, right across from South Beach, and then backs right up to Edgewater, and then obviously the downtown area. As I was explaining before, the layout of the building, we've got on floors 3, 4, and 5, we do have the hotel, which will have 215 keys, and then floors 6, 7, and 8 will be the residential component of that building. We have studios all the way up to 3 bedrooms and 85 residences, okay? One of the things that I do like to say about just selling pre-construction, this is why it's valuable for you guys to come into the gallery and see exactly what it is we're selling in pre-construction. We're selling a dream. We're selling what we cannot see. So we put together a lot of great renderings. I'm sure you guys know about these projects as they come online, what they can look like. This is going to be our rooftop escape that we'll have. Service and lifestyle will be a big part of this project because it is a hotel. We'll have a lot of amenities and services that will cater to the residences. The gym, our lobby area. The lobby will be separated from the hotel lobby again, so making sure that we are keeping the exclusivity of this building where they're not going to be crossing with the residences of the hotel, but they will have all of that service lifestyle to take advantage of. Okay, those are the exclusive residential amenities and into our one-bedroom unit. So the interior design was done by March and White Design, and I think they did a great job. One of the unique selling points about this particular building is our 10-foot ceilings, and on our 8th floor we have 22-foot ceilings. So duplexes that will be in the sky, and they will be right in the urban core of Miami. All right? So, as I mentioned, I had a couple of secrets to tell you guys. Douglas Elliman has partnered with a couple of projects down here in the Bahamas. How many of you guys have heard of or familiar with the project going on in Cotton Bay, Eleuthera? What do you guys think it is? What's the name of the project? It is, exactly. So Douglas Elliman has been in charge now of the exclusive sales and marketing for that project coming to the Bahamas. How many of you guys have heard of Banyan Tree? Where is it located? Anybody know? Nope. That's in Bimini, right? So again, we talk about Old Fort Bay, you talk about Lyford Key, you talk about all of these ultra luxury destinations that Nassau has been known for, but I think really the value proposition for agents in Bahamas is looking at the out islands because there's going to be some amazing new developments coming. We're representing Banyan Tree, we're representing the Ritz-Carlton Reserve. The Ritz-Carlton Reserve is not just a Ritz-Carlton residence, it is going to be a top-tier portfolio in the Ritz-Carlton brand. What does that mean? There's only 9 Ritz-Carlton Reserves, and they decided to choose the Bahamas to build that project here in our country, right? So again, read the tea leaves to understand what's going on and take advantage, find buyers, actively look outside of the country for buyers because we are allowed and can and do pay commission. The commission is typically structured like this. If it's a 6% commission, we pay it over the life of the project, right? We do offer certain incentives. So most of the time on this project called Cloud One in Miami, let's just say you brought me a buyer, they're interested in purchasing, we sell them, they sign a contract. They put down 20% to get into contract. At the point that they put down the 20%, 30 days after that, you'll get 4% of that 6% commission, okay? Then when the building reaches another milestone, which would be top off, when they reach the top of the building, they haven't put any furniture or anything like that in, you'll get another 1%, and then when the building closes, you get another 1%. So the majority of your commission at 4% comes in the first year of construction, all right? So again, you're talking about these high commissions, you're selling new development, you're not having to worry about these HOAs that have exorbitant fees in Miami, as we all know, especially in Miami in particular. And the HOAs come with the reserves, they're solid, and you don't have to worry about special assessments hitting you, right? So these are all the value propositions that you want to present to your clients. If you have a client that's looking for 6 months or a year down the road, present them a pre-construction property because it's going to be a much smoother transaction and you're going to make a little bit more money, okay? It's even more aggressive in the Bahamas, which I like personally, because the commission structure is you get 100% of your commission, 100% of your commission within 30 days of them putting and getting into contract, which is anywhere between 20 and 30%. So that would be the example for the Ritz-Carlton Reserve, Banyan Tree, those are the ones that we're representing. You'll get 100% of your commission 30 days after they sign the contract. Does that sound good? Good, good, good. All right, so that is my presentation. If you guys have any questions, I have a table out there for you guys. I would love to hear from you. Again, like I said, I am connecting with realtors all over the world, so I want to connect with each and every one of you. Give me your card. We can set up a Zoom presentation. We'll do a more extensive presentation with any of the projects within our portfolio. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. And if you have any questions, meet me outside. All right?
Dwight Roosevelt Burroughs is a senior financial services executive with over 3 decades of experience across personal banking, private banking, trust services, and wealth management in the Bahamas and the wider Caribbean. He currently serves as Vice President, Private Banking, and Managing Director of RBC Finco, providing strategic leadership for private banking, mortgage and credit delivery, and client experience in the Bahamas, while also serving as Executive Director of Royal Bank of Canada Trust Company Bahamas Limited, Chairman of Safeguard Insurance, and Senior Officer 2 for RBC Royal Bank Bahamas Limited. Previously, he held the role of CEO and Managing Director of Scotiabank and Trust Cayman Limited, alongside multiple board leadership positions across the Cayman Islands, BVI, Trinidad, and Asia. A respected voice in housing affordability and wealth creation, Dwight is also deeply committed to community development, mentorship, and leadership through organizations such as Toastmasters and the Small Business Development Center, while maintaining strong ties to his Long Island heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Dwight Burroughs.
Good afternoon, all, and thank you very much. I must submit a more succinct bio in the future. It is a pleasure to be here this afternoon at the second annual Bahamas Real Estate Exchange. I'd like to start with a simple question. Is home ownership in the Bahamas getting easier or harder? Let me ask another question. How many people today still believe they can own a home? If you own a home, does your son or daughter believe that they can still own a home? But they don't have a clear path to get there. I ask those questions because that gap between aspiration and access, that's the problem I believe most of us, if not all, are here today to solve. I was introduced already. I am the Vice President for Private Banking and the Managing Director of RBC Finco. Joining me today are several of my RBC Finco and RBC leaders, mortgage specialists, and relationship managers. I'm happy to have the Vice President for Personal Banking and our country head, Erica Roll, who's also joining us. Welcome, Erica. We are genuinely excited to be here because this is not just a presentation for us. It's a partnership conversation. Today I'll walk through why housing matters, what's really happening in the market around housing, and most importantly, how we can better support Bahamians from intention to ownership. Now, time won't allow, I've been given 15 minutes, so time won't allow me to delve into specifics during my presentation. But again, our RBC and RBC Finco team will be available throughout today to assist with your questions. The core content of my presentation is to raise awareness around what's driving housing stress in the market, what it means for prospective homeowners, our role as financial partners, and how we work with all of the other partners to better support Bahamians achieve their goal of homeownership. Now, why does housing matter? You may have heard this already. For most Bahamians, your home is or will be your largest asset and wealth building tool in your lifetime. To add to this, home ownership provides equity growth over time, financial stability for your family, and long-term security and independence. RBC Finco has been a part of the housing landscape in the Bahamas since 1953. That's more than 7 decades. And under the RBC Finco banner, we have supported tens of thousands of Bahamian families through multiple economic cycles. Now that history matters because it gives us perspective. It reminds us of what works, what doesn't, and why our role as financial partners must continue to evolve. Because the traditional view of financial institutions as simply a lender is no longer sufficient. Today, our core responsibility is to be an active partner in financial health and wellness, which includes helping individuals navigate housing decisions in a way that is responsible, sustainable, and aligned with long-term stability. So let's talk for a few minutes about what's creating housing stress in the Bahamas. According to the IMF's 2025 report on housing affordability in the Bahamas, conducted just last April, there are 5 key structural factors driving the housing stress we are experiencing in the Bahamas. The first is that population growth has increased demand. Between 2010 and 2022, population growth has increased by 13% across the Bahamas and 20% in New Providence alone. The second is that housing supply has declined significantly over time. So during that same period, consider this, residential construction completions in 2023 was just over 600 units, compared to more than 1,700 units at its peak in 2006. At the same time, we're seeing a widening affordability gap. I believe this was covered earlier by one of our presenters. Between 2012 and 2022, housing costs has increased by roughly 14%. While wage growth, and a lot of people can argue that it's a lot more, but when we compare that, wage growth has increased by just 2%. Now, in simple terms, this means that housing costs has risen at least 7 times faster than incomes. And this creates a clear affordability issue. The fourth structural factor is financing constraints. Mortgage applications recorded the lowest approval rate of all credit categories in 2024 at just 54%. Often due to low credit scores, underemployment, history of delinquency on prior loans, high debt service ratios, or insufficient savings for down payment and closing costs. The last that I want to mention is demand pressures. Short-term rentals and rising rents erode affordability for first-time buyers, simply because the more they pay in rent, the less they have to save towards future home ownership. And increased demand from second home ownership has driven up prices in neighborhoods that were once attainable for first-time buyers. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like capable, hardworking Bahamians who may be managing monthly rental payments, but they struggle to accumulate the necessary down payment and closing costs. It looks like mortgage applications that stall because savings are not enough. Credit profiles are stretched, and individuals have not prepared themselves sufficiently. So this is how the affordability gap becomes a lived experience. With this in mind, how do we as stakeholders better support Bahamians achieve their dream of home ownership? one of the most powerful opportunities we have is earlier engagement. Engagement focus on education, advice, execution, and savings. Because as responsible partners, we cannot wait until individuals are ready to buy. Why? Because the decisions they or we are making today about savings, about debt, about credit, those will matter and those will compound over the next 5, 10, 15 years. And so when we think about the shift, we need to reframe the financial journey. And I must say, congratulations to Darren. Events like these are not just about mortgage financing or buying a home. It's also about starting the conversations early, educating the public, and building the right habits now so that when individuals are ready to buy, everything aligns. Housing should be positioned for most Bahamians off as early as possible in their lifetime as one of the first major assets to strive to achieve versus the last. And this means encouraging savings early in one's lifetime, and we'll talk about that shortly. It also means avoiding unnecessary consumption-based debt. And it means intentionally building credit profiles with a long-term objective in mind. As financial partners, we add tremendous value when we help people see this clearly and make decisions that can sustain over time. So what does responsible partnership look like in practice? It's built on 4 deliberate pillars. The first is education, and again, today is an excellent example of that. We must raise awareness and better support Bahamians in understanding how best to position themselves for home ownership. Consider these questions. Do we as Bahamians understand the impact of our credit report and our credit score? Do we know that we have credit reports now? Do we know what we can afford based on what we make in terms of income and the debt or loans that we currently have? Do we understand the difference between what someone qualifies for and what they can sustainably afford over time? Do we understand the full cost of ownership? And that's important because it's not just about the purchase price or construction cost. It's about the full picture and total out-of-pocket impact. This includes down payments, but it also includes closing costs, legal fees, stamp duty and VAT, insurance, beds, fridge, or a refrigerator, stove, utilities, all the things you need to move in. And the reality is, getting the keys to your new home is just the beginning because ownership continues long after closing. So when education is done well, individuals make better decisions. The second pillar is advice. Advice that goes beyond product selection and focuses on outcomes over time. This includes structuring financing around resilience and life stage, not maximum borrowing capacity. It also includes designing payment structures for that individual and loan terms that align with your or their specific circumstances, and that also provides flexibility as circumstances change. The third pillar is execution. In practice, strong execution means clear, transparent processes so clients understand each step. It means strong coordination across all of the stakeholders that you see here today: borrowers, developers, contractors, attorneys, valuers, and insurers. And it means consistent communication, keeping clients informed rather than uncertain or anxious. The fourth factor, and the one that I think is most critical that I will spend a couple of minutes on before my wrap up, is around savings. Savings and promoting a strong savings culture among the population plays a direct role in housing outcomes. for many Bahamians, a material hurdle to home ownership is the down payment and closing costs. And even after coming up with the required upfront costs, maintaining a financial buffer once they become homeowners is another obstacle. Households and individuals with stronger savings positions enter the housing market with better leverage, greater resilience, and better approval outcomes. So when borrowers bring meaningful savings to a purchase, loan-to-value ratios are lower, financial stress is reduced during income shocks, and homes are less likely to fall into distress. And again, given the importance of this particular topic, I just will expand for maybe 1 other minute, specifically on 3 key opportunities that can strengthen savings. The first is purposeful savings. What do I mean? We must move, and this is myself and as a parent, this is myself as a financial partner, and all of us who have some responsibility within this space. We must move from telling persons that they need to save to a position where we do what? We show them how to save. And some of the things we can do is we set up dedicated home ownership savings accounts. We ensure that we set specific, smart savings goals with clear milestones, 5, 10, 15% of your income. I have 2 daughters. They probably are not here because they know I would talk about them. They live with me. They have to save at least 50%. And that's an opportunity that maybe some others don't get. Savings works best when it has a purpose, a timeline, and accountability. So I'm the accountability in-house when it comes to my daughters. The second, and for me personally, I think this is the most powerful, we must automate savings. And it's simple, payroll deductions. We know how to do that because we do that for credit far too often. Payroll deductions, schedule transfers. Why is this important? This ensures that we make savings a system and not a decision. So while discipline is good, we remove the stress of discipline by creating a system around savings. And the third is bundle readiness. We must bundle savings with mortgage readiness education because savings alone is not enough. The strongest outcomes come when savings is bundled with credit cleanup, budgeting and cash flow coaching, and a clear understanding of affordability. So that when someone enters the market, they don't just qualify, they are positioned to succeed. So with all of that said, I want to be clear about something. We're not here today to talk just about mortgages. We're here, in my humble opinion, to build homeowners and responsible homeowners, and that requires partnership and shared responsibility. Achieving home ownership in today's environment is not the responsibility of any one group. It requires a shared commitment. For example, RBC FinCo and my competitors that are here today, as financial institutions, we must go beyond lending. By educating, advising responsibly, and executing with clarity and transparency, individuals play a key role because as individuals, we must take ownership of our own financial journey by planning early, saving consistently, and making disciplined financial decisions. And then there's the responsibility of all of the other stakeholders, the realtors, developers, legal service providers, and employers who must take a similar approach to support educating, executing, and advising with clarity and transparency. At RBC FinCo, we remain committed to being a steady and trusted partner, one that supports responsible home ownership, financial resilience, and national progress. Because when we strengthen education, we strengthen savings, we strengthen credit profiles and preparation. And when we strengthen savings, credit, and preparation, we strengthen housing. And when we strengthen housing, we strengthen the very foundation that our country is built on. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if we're taking questions. So.
I would just like to say thank you to Dwight. It's always a pleasure to be in the same room with you. Your presentation was very practical, and this is exactly what is needed during this time. I don't think there's anything that anyone could have said better. So I do say thank you.
Thank you very much.
I hope that everyone listened and truly listened to what he said. Yeah, good training. Yes, he did. Okay, I'm Cara Davis, and I represent Scotiabank Cable Beach branch. But more than that, just Scotiabank in general. And like she said, he had great training. He was with us as well. So,
Well, coincidentally, the individual that said that was instrumental in my initial training in the lending space, and that is none other than Althea Davis, the wife of Pastor Ross Davis. Absolutely.
so yes, at this time, do we have any questions at all for Dwight? Sure, 1 second.
Dwight,
Sir.
excellent presentation.
Thank you, man.
I wanted to find out this presentation that you have, is there anywhere you could be able to have that or get a copy of that? And I think what has to happen from this is a financial series of where we go to the community and go to talk about what you said today, because I think it was such a great information that you presented today. And
Yep.
I just want to say thank you again. And I think I just wanted to, what your thoughts is about us going in the community effort, and I'm prepared to help you with that too as well.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, my friend.
Okay,
great,
thank
great.
you for that.
Say again? Great question. I'll say this. Again, we believe that educating the public is so important that this is one of many presentations within the community that we are participating in. This will actually be, so the first was at the Bahamas Business Outlook, where I spoke on the very same subject, albeit with some adjustments. Just this week, I'm sure my competitors, they'll have to catch up now because we know we're ahead of them. But just this week, we would have had 2 presentations at the Bahamas Telecommunications Corporation. We have some scheduled with most of the other large large corporates across the country for the balance of this year. And again, it's simply about educating the public, whether it's a 21-year-old just getting into their job for the first time, or a 50-year-old who may be interested in their second home. There's a lot to learn. It's an evolving space. Things are changing so rapidly. And so we think it's important as a player in the financial institution to ensure that we stay abreast of what's going on and we share as much as possible. So long and short is absolutely. And you and I can connect, of course. Thank you, man.
Great question. Thank you so much for that. Do we have anyone else with another question? We invite you to come to the mic. Come on, man. Dwight gave some great information. We must have some more questions.
Good afternoon. I came in on the tail end, but I think the information was still pertinent. Any tips for self-employed individuals? I attained a mortgage as a self-employed person, and I felt like I had to draw blood.
Yeah.
And so any tips for individuals who are self-employed on approaching banks as it relates to mortgages or financing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll speak to that, but I was trying to stay away from responding to some of the prior comments, particularly from my very good friend, Leonard Sands. One of the key points I mentioned in my presentation is that for most individuals globally, owning a home, buying a home, or constructing a home will be the single largest investment you ever take on. And so Leonard mentioned the rigidity of the bank's mortgage process. I'm speaking for all of banks now. It feels rigid because it's important. It's important. We have to be responsible as key partners in ensuring that when we disperse funds for a home and place you in that 25 or 30-year commitment, that you are best positioned to succeed. So It will feel rigid, but it's important to mention that. Now, to your question, the single most important piece of advice I would give to self-employed individuals is to separate your self-employed income from your personal income, and please channel it through the appropriate account. So establish an account to channel all of those transactions to, and then, of course, start the process of creating financials. Whether it's in-house, I think it's a great place to start, and as your business grows, then of course you understand how you need to grow and get the services of professionals like an accountant, yeah? So that's my single most important piece of advice for self-employed individuals. In most of the cases, and I believe my cousin and colleague from Scotiabank would agree that most of the challenges we find with self-employed individuals is that we cannot prove or verify the income that they state that they generate on a regular basis.
Thank you for that question. I do believe that we are a bit we're on time, so we have to go. But before I leave, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize one of our partners here from Scotiabank, Ms. Andia Delancey. Andia she's the senior manager with responsibility of our sales center on Wolf and Jerome. So please, by all means, I like to say that when banks compete, clients win. So by all means, we invite you to partake, to find out what each bank has to offer, and take it away, do your research, and then make the best decision for you. Okay? There is nothing wrong with shopping around.
Well, I think the White is the best example, because the White, you've been in Scotiabank, RBC, all those, to show that we are partners together. We're partners. We're all partners together. We're going to make this presentation, and we're getting ready for our next speaker, all the way from Paradise Island, the Ocean Club. And please, I would like to present to Mr. Dwight Burrows.
Something from Ocean Club all the way from
We have it in the house. You know, you could have buy a whole condo. He's going to tell you about that in just a minute. Come, Candy, please. On behalf of the Bahamas Real Estate Exchange, thank you, Dwight, for being such a great role model in this industry. In addition to Dwight, we want to call our Scotiabank partners, both from Cable Beach and the sales center, Say, please come. We have a token for you. I think I saw Andia, I saw Dominic earlier, and also Cara and your team. Suffice to say, Cara is helping us close the matter even now. And she was with us with this Love Estates project, and we just want to thank her for her tremendous work along with her team. We want to let's give Scotiabank a round of applause. They are co-sponsors here. Service Center. Between CIBC and Scotia and RBC and rest, you know, we help and partner with our finance buyers. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much. Just a token that will help you, and we appreciate it. Of course, they have the tables there, all three of them, and CIBC at the back. You can get more information. This young man is coming all the way from the Ocean Club. Please hear the introduction, and then we'll hear from Tyrese Campbell.
In less than a decade, Tyrese Campbell has positioned himself among the most trusted advisors in the Caribbean luxury real estate market. A Nassau native, he brings a rare combination of local insight and global perspective to his role as sales executive at the Ocean Club Four Seasons private residences, where he represents one of the region's most prestigious resort addresses to an international clientele. His experience spans diverse markets and price points, from luxury condominiums at Rosewood Bahamas and Sotheby's International to scaling real estate operations across multiple offices in South Florida. Guided by the belief that clients seek trusted advisors rather than salespeople, Tyrese delivers a relationship-driven approach grounded in credibility, discretion, and results. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Tyrese Campbell.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyrese Campbell. I am the sales executive with the Ocean Club Four Seasons Private Residences, and I'm here to give you a very brief introduction into our project. Usually our presentations are much longer, but I only have about 15 minutes, so bear with me as I give you a quick intro. I first of all want to start by thanking Darren and the BRX team for having us here and inviting us to share with you our project. I have some slides, but I may stray from them just in favor of time. I mentioned I'm the sales executive. I'm also here with my colleague, Corey McBride. He is the sales director. He'll be on the panel with me following this presentation. But introducing you to the Ocean Club Residences, what that is a collection of 4 buildings on Paradise Island. We are located directly on Cabbage Beach, near the existing Ocean Club Four Seasons Resort. So on property, we have 4 buildings that comprise 67 total residences. We are managed and operated by the Four Seasons. As you can see on the slide here, our pricing ranges from $7.3 million upwards of $22 million. We want to start by that because we had a few previous speakers that spoke on development opportunities and just ownership in general in the Bahamas, and that just gives you an idea of what's possible in the Bahamas and for Bahamians, whether you're a professional in the industry or looking to buy a residence. Access to anywhere. So it's really easy to access the Bahamas. We have over 51 direct flights directly to Nassau. It's a very short commute from the airport to Paradise Island. There's no need for a secondary ferry or additional flight to Nassau or Paradise Island, so it's very easy to get to the residences. We have a clip of our direct flight map here on the screen for you to take a look at. A new era. So I did mention the Ocean Club Four Seasons Resort. This is the first ownership opportunity with the resort. So it's not replacing the legendary history, but more so entering into a new chapter. I'm showing you a brief rendering of one of our amenities on property. We are bringing 67 residences to Paradise Island, but in addition to the residences, we are building a complete resort level amenity base. So in addition to the residences, we have a new spa, fitness center, 3 restaurants. We have owner-exclusive amenities like an owner's library, a lounge, an owner's rum cellar. We don't have much time to show you all of those amenities, but just to give you a brief intro. We are working with some great partners on the project. I did want to highlight Champala Mode, which is a New York-based design studio. We have some of their previous works on the screen here. We have some work in Cayman, in London, and I think Singapore. I can't see from my glasses. But this just shows you some of their work. They are building out and designing both the residences for the project and the amenities. So the renderings you see on the screen will be from Champala Mode. Onto the residences. So I did mention 67 residences. They're being delivered fully turnkey. So what that means is they're fully furnished from everything you can imagine, from your dining room tables, your beds, your rugs, your linens, everything. Being managed by the Four Seasons, that package also includes your Four Seasons linens, your kitchen utensils, the towels that you'll use in your residence. Some features on the residences: we have up to 15-foot ceilings in our residences. We have massive expansive terraces. Our residences are very sizable. We range from 2-bedroom plus 10s all the way up to 5-bedroom beach villas. From an interior square footage standpoint, we range from about 3,100 square feet upwards of 14,000 total square feet. We have Sub-Zero and Wolf appliances. We have summer kitchen on the terraces. So being in the Bahamas, we did want to include that indoor-outdoor living experience. So we have floor-to-ceiling doors that connect, your great rooms to your terraces. Our buildings range from 6 to 9 stories, and if you think about those ceiling heights, range from 12 to 15 feet, you have some great elevation and great views towards Cabbage Beach. We have 2 buildings that are directly on the beachfront. There are 2 buildings that are right behind those buildings that house amenities. Every residence and all the amenities have views of the water. And on to ownership. So this is a very different ownership experience that I think that Bahamians should be aware of. This is managed and operated by the Four Seasons. So as an owner, you have access to all of those services. Your experience as an owner is completely managed for you. You have a dedicated team on staff that handles your everyday life experience and also managing your residence. If you think about managing a home that's 4,000 to 14,000 square feet, that's pretty much a full-time job. That's everything from you're managing your plumbing, your maintenance. If you're traveling to the Bahamas, if you're a non-resident and you're spending 2 weeks, you're planning out your dinner reservations, any excursions, keeping your residence clean. All of that is managed for you by the dedicated on-staff Four Seasons team. So that's all built into your experience as an owner, and that also extends beyond your residence. If you want to organize, a professional expo, for example, your dedicated team can assign all of the rooms for your guests. They can take care of your family reservations. They can book out all of your dinner reservations as well. If you're doing anything off property, the Four Seasons team handles that for you. Being that the project is pre-construction, we recently launched a brand new buyer stay program. Just a bit of insight into that program. It allows you to experience ownership as soon as you sign. So for owners, early owners, you have access to a dedicated concierge team, you have dedicated preferred rates at the hotel. So the project is, we have an anticipated completion date of early 2029. So throughout those 3 years of construction, you as an owner can use and occupy the existing resort as though you are in your residence. You're experiencing the same location, you're experiencing the same Four Seasons service and lifestyle as you would once your residence is completed. Your eligible stays will be credited towards your closing fees. So any stays that you benefit from and enjoy throughout construction, that can be credited towards your closing costs once the residence is completed. An additional sort of owner benefit. So being managed by the Four Seasons, you have the option to opt into their rental program. We're working with a great team called Threshold Market Research. They've sort of launched something like a rental portal. It's called a rental library. It's a great system that you can log on to. It's an online portal that basically outlines what the rental experience is, answers any questions, and shows you how the rental program works. So if that's something that you as an agent or you as your client is interested in reviewing, connect with us and we could share instructions on how to access that portal. This is a snapshot from that rental library. For us here attending the event, this is a great snapshot in terms of what the high and low rates would be for the Ocean Club Four Seasons and also the Four Seasons in Costa Rica. So if you're looking to book a stay, this is what you can expect to pay on a nightly basis on property. This is available in the rental portal, so you can use this to anticipate what your nightly rates will be for your residence if you decide to rent through the Four Seasons. And similar to the ownership experience, the management of that rental program is all handled by the Four Seasons. So they set the rates. They obviously would benefit from and work for the highest and best rate for your residents, and it's a completely hands-free experience. So you don't have to go and clean your residence once the rental turns over. You don't have to deal with, purchasing new linens or marketing that residence, handling any PR. You don't have to handle, the accounting of it. All of that is managed in-house for you. And the moment, so where we are now, we've had a great year so far with starting off Q1 with great sales momentum. We recently came to terms with an off-market penthouse offer one of our beachfront residences. We've shared some secrets earlier from some of our previous speakers, but today I just want to share with you the first update. So just as early as yesterday, we've got heavy equipment on the site, which is a great update for us. So we're moving into bulk excavation over the next few weeks and then straight into construction. And another update on the existing resort. This image is new amenities at the Ocean Club Four Seasons Resort. So in addition to the residences and the amenities that we will be building on site, on property at the resort, we're now completing 2 new padel courts. We're adding in a ballroom. We're upgrading the existing spa that's being moved and upgraded to a larger space, being modernized. We're also adding in a ballroom as well. If you're looking for more information, this is a very brief presentation, like I said. We do have a sales gallery on property at the Ocean Club Four Seasons Resort on Paradise Island, where we have a scale model, a full digital presentation that we can walk through all the residences, walk you through the amenities. You can see views from specific buildings, look at the views from, say, if you're interested in a penthouse on the 9th floor in Building 2. I can show you the view from that great room looking over towards Cabbage Beach. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. This QR code leads to our website, so if you want to take a look at any renderings, connect with us, you can feel free. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Campbell. Let's give him another round of applause. Talk about young Bahamians doing great. Isn't it wonderful? And aren't you proud of him? Campbell is a Bahamian name, eh? Where the Campbell's from? Let me see the Cat Islanders in the house. we have, there you go. We have all of the island flags represented here. I have roots in Kit Island too, on the Ragged Island side. Yes, shout out to Kit Island, Ragged Island, Exuma, but shout your island out. Okay, there you go. And I want you to know, according to the act I learned this week, that you're Bahamian even once you have a work permit. Yeah, so even the people who have grafted in, it's good to be Bahamian. You know, I'm happy for that. Please present Mr. Campbell. What he didn't mention is that we're having a tour, exclusive tour today at 4:30. The Mercedes Sprinter will be here to collect you. And those who have registered for it, it's already full and closed, but those who went online and did it, please join us. Maybe able to squeeze one or two more if you're driving there, but you have to let us know before.
If you do want to join separately and take a look at the residences, like I mentioned, our sales gallery is on Paradise Island. So if you're an agent, if you're a buyer, if you just want to learn more about what's coming to Paradise Island, our sales gallery is open at the Ocean Club Resort.
Please give him another round of applause. Thank you. We're coming to the end of our day, and with $50, we couldn't afford to do food as well. But I know some of you are getting hungry, but if I'm not ahead of myself, we only have one more session, right? We have one more session, which is this great panel on legacy and global developments. I see our panelists, if Ms. Dr. Gandhi would please get our panelists. I just want to remind someone one more time, could you put the QR code for the University of West Indies? I just heard from them. To please sign up if you want to take advantage of the certificate to receive at the end of the day, a certificate of participation from the University of the West Indies. Please scan. Also, our program, a full program is available. You can see the registration desk, or do we have that scan for the program? We have a full program, 39 pages or 40 pages. You can scan it. Everything now is digital. So you can look through it, and there's some great contacts in there for services. So please take advantage of it. So please don't leave. Please just stay with us. We just have one more panel, and of course we're live. And Eyewitness News said they were gonna be taking this, so it will have reach. The young man asked about the seminar being available. Yes, it will be available, and we will be pushing it on social media as well for greater reach. That's how we got in contact with the last two speakers that came on. You can go ahead with the introductions for this last panel. Thank you.
John Christie and Dylan Christie represent the strength and continuity of leadership at H.G. Christie Limited. Both recognized as members of the prestigious Masters Circle within Christie's International Real Estate, an honor reserved for top-performing professionals globally. Together, they bring a powerful combination of legacy, experience, and next-generation innovation to the Bahamian real estate market, with expertise spanning luxury, commercial, and investment properties. Their shared commitment to excellence, market insight, and client service continues to position them at the forefront of high-value transactions while reinforcing the global reputation of the Christie's brand in the Bahamas. Corey McBride and Tyrese Campbell represent a dynamic alignment of seasoned leadership and emerging excellence within the luxury real estate space, both contributing to the representation of premier Four Seasons branded developments in the Bahamas. Corey, with over 26 years of experience across international luxury markets, brings proven expertise in leading high-performing sales teams and delivering multi-million-dollar results. While Tyrese, a rising force in the Caribbean luxury market, offers a fresh, globally informed perspective rooted in client advisory and relationship-driven service. Together, they provide a balanced and compelling approach to luxury real estate, connecting global buyers with world-class opportunities in the Bahamas. Peter Anthony Carey is a proud Bahamian native whose appreciation for West Indian culture and lifestyle shapes his refined professional perspective. With a diverse background spanning healthcare and fashion, he built a strong foundation in branding, public relations, and events, seamlessly blending creativity with strategic business insight. His keen eye for detail and elevated aesthetic have led to collaborations with some of the world's most iconic luxury brands, ultimately guiding his transition into real estate, where he specializes in new development at Douglas Elliman. Passionate about pre-construction, Peter Anthony is committed to helping investors and future homeowners fully understand the value, vision, and long-term professional of their investments, delivering a thoughtful, advisory-driven approach to luxury real estate. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panelists.
This is a great panel, heavy panel, and we're going to have a great discussion, a healthy discussion. How are you men doing? How are you young men doing?
We're good.
Doing
Excellent.
good.
Good to have you. Welcome to BRX. We are talking about legacy, vision, and future Bahamian development. We're going to start with the veteran, Mr. John Christie. Tell us about H.G. Christie, the man, H.G. Christie, and the developments he helped to shape across the Bahamas. What did he see that others didn't?
Well, he was H.G. Sir Harold was quite a person. What he saw was, and how we got into things, as he was in the Canadian Air Force before he moved back to the Bahamas. So he was, though he wasn't a certified pilot, but he was into flying. So when he came back to the Bahamas in like 2022, he was able to fly around the Bahamas, and he saw all these beautiful beaches. And so he was seeing it from the air, like when we look for Google Earth now, we can see what's going on. Well, in 1919, not very many people were able to get in planes and fly around. So he had that vision of seeing what the Bahamas could be. And he went around, he started being a sales agent, and then he was able to, buy and sell. He was also a bootlegger at the beginning. That's where he got some cash to get going. And then he had the things that he saw were things like Lyford Key, which was a swamp, but had two beautiful beaches, and that was it. So he said, oh, this could really be something. He saw what it could be. He just had that vision, and he went ahead and he put the land together from the 30s. He pieced it all together. He also, worked to put together Windermere Island, did Hawks Nest, Double Bay, and many other places around the Bahamas. But he was also instrumental in the prime owner of Bahamas Airways before Bahamas Air. That's because he knew that he bought all this land around the Bahamas. He bought inexpensive beachfront land because nobody wanted it. But then he knew that the only way to get around the Bahamas was on a mailboat or whatever, or sailing or on a mailboat, and that wasn't any way to get wealthy people in to come and spend money in the Bahamas. So he was actually instrumental in creating Bahamas Airways, which lasted for 30, 40 years until it finally went down and Bahamas Air took over. So he had the vision to get that going too. I mean, there's many other things, but that's just a couple of items.
Wasn't he the original landowner, or not the original, but at least he owned what we now know as Lyford Key?
Yeah, no, he bought up all of Lyford Key, bought up all the pieces. And he had he had the vision. He actually sold it 3 times because if you go to Lyford Key, there's on all the beachfront. He would go to London and be at Claridge's, and then and find a rich guy there and bring him over and say, well, how many feet do you want? So I want 300 feet. So there's large pieces of land because he sold them 300 feet. And if some guy wanted 100 feet, he sold him that. So all the beachfront was sold. But then he knew that all this backland was there, that he needed to get that going. So he actually bought and sold like 3 times before they got to E.P. Taylor. And E.P. Taylor gave a speech to Rotary, which I wish I still had, but I remember it being read to me, that he said that H.G. was on him for years and years and years. You have to buy this, you have to buy this, you have to buy this. So it's really the fact that H.G. was so persistent in saying, you need to buy this, that he actually bought it. And then they created the Lyford Key Club. and sort of the rest is history there.
Also, Grand Bahama, didn't he bring Mr. Groves here?
He did. He brought like all the big players at the time, so that was it.
You understated, Christy. You know that's history.
Well,
So
yeah.
it's not just not really just pushing. It's really history, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It needs to be promoted more. And I mean that's a great thing. It's
Yeah.
a great heritage. You
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
To Mr. Dylan Christie, I mean you're taking on you're the younger one now, son of John Christie. What is it like? I mean, do you feel an honor to be Christie? You appreciate that?
Yeah, for sure. I was always interested in the space, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but I did start doing real estate in New York and in Jacksonville, and then I came home maybe about 4 years ago and joined on the 100th-year anniversary, and it's been an honor and a privilege, and I've been doing very well, so very thankful.
That's what I appreciate.
Doing fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, you did very good. I mean, you saw that John is, I noticed he's doing the same thing with his dad did to him. You're not like one of those spoiled rich children who just, silver spoon in your mouth, So
My first sales were $9,000 lots.
Yeah. So that's really good, and I bet you get to appreciate it more. What I like about your history, he allowed you to go away. You basically established your own in terms of the finance industry. Tell us about that experience there, because I think that it's going to catapult us. It's something that we can learn from the Bahamas in terms of the financing. Tell us about what you used to do in terms of financing.
Yeah, when I was first in Jacksonville and in New York, I worked for Greystone and Northmar Capital, and that really gave me real world experience. I'm not going to say what I do here is easy, but that was, full days, 12-hour days, and so what we did was I was a loan originator / underwriter, and we worked with CMBS platforms, life insurance platforms, banks, government-sponsored enterprises, and within 4 years, responsible for funding $700 million. And I'll get into that a little bit with the next questions about, what the Bahamas is lacking in terms of really creating this a commercial real estate hub. But that really got my feet wet, and especially how to manage people's expectations, especially in New York. You could deal with some very serious people who demand a lot, and a lot of these buyers that are coming here are from New York and have that same sort of demand and very aggressive tendencies with you. And I just got a deal in Ocean Club where they were working with another agent, just simply couldn't handle them. So having that experience in New York and the real world per se, it has paid dividends.
Very great, very, very good. And I pray that the Bahamas comes to take advantage of that opportunity and that wealth of knowledge that you've gone and experienced, especially with commercial real estate, because a lot of times people now are concerned because it's like they want us to go get consumer loans like they were talking about earlier, but no one wants you to invest in terms of commercial real estate. And by the way, private islands is commercial. One of the things, as we were talking previously, we talked about this cap rate that you basically use to evaluate investments, and we don't really use that here.
No, and that's, and the one thing is, like, if I had a client that wanted to invest in commercial real estate and get a loan, I personally really would even know where to send them. So the biggest thing in the States in commercial real estate, it's not comparing a property. You could have a retail store, adjacent retail store that sold for $2 million, but your property is performing exponentially better, so it could be worth $3 million. So we have comps on the MLS for residential sales, but in terms strictly for commercial real estate, you need to have some sort of platform. Like in the States, you have CoStar, where all the data on sales, on refinances, it's all public knowledge. The appraisers could go and pull, okay, this property here in this local municipality sold for $1 million at a 10% cap rate, and then another one for 8%. So the underwriters could actually, and the appraisers could actually derive a cap rate. So for instance, you could build a retail store for $1 million, but once you stabilize it, lease it up, and pull that cap rate, it's worth $2 million. So, and when you do commercial real estate loans, it's never a full amortized loan. You always have a balloon payment, so you get a 10-year term, 30-year amortization schedule, and then once it's time to refinance, you could cash out $1 million. So there needs to be, either private sector or government sector where we do have data available, because commercial real estate is all about data, and I don't know where appraisers will be able to go and find, what rate, a cap rate, for those of you who don't know, is a rate of return. What rate of return did this commercial property sold for? Without that, the banks are going to be, okay, maybe I'm happy with a 8% return or a 6% return. So they need to have data to support this if commercial real estate is really going to take off. And I do think, I mean, like Brickell Management Group, they're all cash, but like for all the investors in the States, they leverage themselves. You know, they'll be at like 60 to 70% loan to value on the real estate schedule, but that allows them to have 10 properties versus one, appreciate. And then in the States is also, if you could do a cash out refinance, it's all tax-free. You know, you could cash out once your property is stabilized, get $1 million, and that's tax-free. So I think we are in the right direction for development, but I do think we need to have some resources to really facilitate to the next step.
Mhm. So he just gave you $1 million business idea, co-star in the Bahamas, and then in terms of building that to really help with persons, investors, and the commercial side. That's it happened in the States, so we have a template, and it could happen here. So we're going to see where it goes. That's the future development. We're going to go over to Mr. McBride. Sir, you have an impressive resume. You've worked on many projects. We are so grateful for your contribution here in the Bahamas and Paradise Island, and you're doing a great job, and kudos to you in all that you're doing. What we want to ask you in terms of your experience, almost 30 years in that, what is different or what is similar to the Four Seasons?
Yes, and thank you, Darren, for having me on. You know, with our project, with this new Four Seasons branded project on Paradise Island, it's similar in that it's at a baseline. It awards all of the top tier things that you would expect in any luxury development throughout the Bahamas. You know, you got ultra prime location, you've got exclusivity. You know, with the Four Seasons Resort and Ocean Club, and you know, sitting right on Cabbage Beach is one of the most prestigious enclaves, I think, in the country, in my opinion. So, you know, it's gated, it's low density, it's very private, it's very secure. You know, it's a full luxury lifestyle. It's, you know, people that expect concierge and security and, you know, beach clubs and all these amenities and golf and marinas and all these things that come along with it, but also a turnkey type of product that is done very well with interior, exterior living. You know, it's got a similar international buyer base. As we all know, we have, you know, a large international pull from all around, whether that's London, whether that's Europe, and obviously the U.S. So we share that similarity, U.S., Canadian buyers, you know, the second home snowbirds, you know, as we call them, or just tax advantage, you know, buyers that are looking for tax advantages. That's a similarity, of course, and that's all consistent in the Nassau luxury market. I think where it's fundamentally different is really when it comes to Ocean Club residences and kind of stands it apart is it's not all real estate in Nassau luxury is branded. Some is, and among the branded Four Seasons, I think we all kind of argue sits at the top, in the top tier. You know, buyers aren't purchasing just real estate. They're, you know, they want a hospitality standard. They want service culture, and you know, Four Seasons typically has, you know, steps above their competitors with that. So, you know, that matters because of consistency, asset value, a lot of different things. I think another difference would be boutique scale. You know, we have 67 residences, as Tyrese mentioned earlier. We'll have less than 60 owners out of that. So when you look at, you know, it's not, we've got three 6-story buildings, one 9-story. So it is mid-rise. It's done very well. It's all an extension of the resort. It's quiet, low density, almost club-like, if that makes sense. And then when you compare that to the large energetic and entertainment areas in the resorts of Atlantis and Baja Mar, it's a much different feel. And so that's one part of it. But I think positioning it as a home and not just a second home is really the main point.
Yeah, branding is so important, and you know, with all the geopolitical strife that's going on, you know, people everywhere, global, are basically finding the Bahamas continue to find us as a very place. People want an experience. People want safety, like you said. People want security. People want that luxury, and that's what Four Seasons is. They sell an experience, and we're very grateful for the work you're doing there, Mr. Campbell. How does global, how does a global developer experience shape the vision? We're talking about vision and future development. How does that global or global developed demand shape the vision for Four Seasons in the Bahamas?
So I think with our developers, Access Industries, they're based in New York, Two Roads Development, they're based in Palm Beach. There's a different type of confidence that the buyer can get from those developers being involved. Two Roads has developments all over South Florida. Access Industries manages a real estate portfolio worth billions. And, you know, looking at the Bahamas, it's good. Buyers will benefit from having that type of confidence in these developers being able to build the project, that the project will be built to a certain standard, that they've done it before, that the project will, once it's completed, be managed by a team that's also done it before. So I think that level of confidence is something that's definitely important to these type of buyers.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's similar to the Christie's too. I mean, because they've been here so long, etc. People sort of like it, they want the fact that they know something that they can trust. You know, people want what's trusted. People want what's secure. You know, and similar, you're basically building on that brand that's global, and really just building a unique Bahamian experience. And in that light, is there a demand for authentic Bahamian experience? And how do you preserve and reflect Bahamian heritage in your development?
I think there's definitely a demand for a Bahamian experience, and I think it's actually accelerating because if you look at our buyer profile, they can visit and they've stayed any and everywhere. So when they come to the Bahamas, they don't want to feel as though they're living or staying in Dubai or Miami. They want to feel like they're in the place. So I think, you know, the sand, the sea, the culture, the people, that's something that the Bahamas can do you know, it's not comparative to anywhere else. So there definitely is a demand. And for me personally, that's something that really drives me to the project because in everything we do, we've sort of upheld that.
Excellent, excellent. Mr. Peter Anthony Carey. Carey from Eleuthera?
Tarpon Bay.
Listen here. We're proud of you. You're making great strides in Florida, but welcome home.
Appreciate it. It's good to be back.
Yeah, so tell us about the experience about, I mean, how did you get in the States? I mean, what's happening? How did
Well,
you get in Florida?
I was just actually talking to a realtor about this a couple of minutes ago, but, you know, when I grew up, way before Mr. Campbell here back in the 80s, you know, I went to Bahamas Academy and, like, you know, we were trained sort of to look at going away for school was sort of this pinnacle of that Bahamian experience. You're going to either go to England or the States, right? So of course I did most of my formidable education abroad, but to your point that you mentioned earlier, I feel that we don't see this hidden gem that is sitting right under our nose. We learn to sort of, you know, I think hate is a strong word. We learn to sort of, the grass is greener on the other side. But really, the ocean is bluer.
Yes, absolutely.
And now there's been this whole sense of search for authentic experiences in our buyer pool that we see. And we do have that history, that culture from the water, from the food, from the way that people interact with each other, that familiarity culture that we have here. People crave these authentic experiences, and I think the new developments that are coming to the Bahamas, whether they're not Bahamian developers, they're trying to make a concerted effort to really honor that culture. And so for me, whether it be the project that I'm working on in Miami or the project that I'm working on here in the Bahamas, I like that they are infusing that aspect, and it makes me feel proud and confident about selling the things that I'm selling and connecting with buyers. And really, we're selling a lifestyle. That lifestyle is the Bahamian lifestyle. It's becoming more and more sophisticated, which we love, and it's evolving. But I'm very honored and very proud to be on the ground floor as this evolution continues.
Excellent. I mean, and that's so very important. When we were at the last conference, we talked about the art there in Goldwyn, Keishan Monroe. The largest mural is in there in the world, and they infuse that. It's so beautiful. Talking about the Bahamian art, we're talking about even our landscape and using the foliage and the environment to really, that's what people are looking for. Like, they're looking for a unique, they're trying to get away from the hustle and bustle of where they are. And it's amazing to me that we're running away from it. I don't know why, but I pray that as we develop, we would really appreciate, like the first John Christie, I mean, the first H.G. Christie, he really went up, and we have to elevate our vision to really look down and see what could be, you know, and that's what you're doing with this four-season development. You know, you're really creating, who would have thought of 4 seasons in the Bahamas, you know? And now you, Mr., telling us about who's coming to Lutra?
It's going to be a Ritz-Carlton Reserve, which is the most exclusive portfolio category in the Ritz-Carlton brand.
Hello, Bahamas.
Yes.
Another great brand.
Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah, one of 9 in the world.
Wow.
And they've come to Bahamas, right? And we talk about authentic experiences, but it's going to be a reserve, so we're really going to be playing into the art and the culture that Bahamas has to offer, and all of the natural surroundings as well.
So we shouldn't be surprised, you know. We have what they're looking for. I mean, 100%.
I mean, I was there on the island a few weeks ago. I mean, caves, blue holes, right? You have one side of the island is the Atlantic, the other side is the Caribbean Sea, right? I mean, these are things that you cannot recreate. And so understanding how to sell that, but sell, I even think it doesn't really encapsulate. What we're doing in new development is education. And we want to educate buyers. We want to educate our local community of realtors that have access to these projects, to sell these projects. There's no reason why you guys shouldn't be taking home the commission that another realtor from Mexico or England or Dubai is going to come right in here and sell as well. So understanding how to develop your marketing strategy as a realtor to capture these amazing developments that are coming, I think is it's a value proposition that only you guys have here in the Bahamas.
Well, that's the key word for this weekend, access. And that's what we put this program together to do, the access. You can access 4 seasons. You can access Life with Key. You can access all the listings on the H.C. Christie website. And then we can access even now international. Tell us some ways how Bahamian realtors can participate and access even in global developments in, let's say, Miami.
Yeah, so basically the short answer to that question is that we pay commission. So if you guys are bringing your clients to us, we don't have any type of restrictions, whether you're coming from Mexico, you're coming from Bahamas, you're coming from Barbados. Our commission structure allows us to pay realtors from the outside that coming in, bringing clients in, their full 6% commission. So yeah, this is what realtors want to hear.
Tell them about your partnership with H.C. Christie and how we can benefit from that. You're saying that?
Yeah, I referenced that in my speech, but you know, my job is to connect with realtors. I don't always just look for buyers. Of course, if we run across a direct buyer, great, perfect. But 80% of business is done through a co-broker or from another realtor relationship that I have. They're bringing buyers, okay? So I was online searching how can I connect with Bahamian realtors, and the BRX website came up. And so this was my first interaction with Darren, asking about how can I be a part of this event. Now, mind you, this was a couple of years ago. So we kept in touch, and little did I know the connection that he had to H.G. Christie, which is a legacy agency here in the Bahamas. So for me, a Douglas Elliman who's looking to connect with realtors in the Bahamas, it was a no-brainer for us to do an exclusive partnership for the listing that we have in Miami with H.G. Christie's. And it's just, you know, really flourished into this beautiful relationship where I'm getting to present my project to you guys, but, you know, you guys are also able to understand how to transact and expand your portfolio of business and create more and additional revenue streams for your business.
Exactly. And I'm hoping that as a result of what we push out from this, we'll have some Four Seasons buyers, and I'm sure many are listening right now online, who will be interested in this brand that we have. And back to Mr. Dillon and John Christie, you've sold in Palm Key, Acolina, Albany. Tell me, what is it like having those, the experience? Tell us about the experience in terms of giving people that access to communities like this in the Bahamas. Just tell us about your experience.
So all those communities, they've done very well. And one of the biggest things why I think they've taken off is they allow short-term rentals. So a lot of people want to own the Bahamas, but they don't want to live here full-time. And then allowing them to do short-term rentals, cover a lot of their operating costs, and even have some passive income and could use it freely. There's no restrictions. It's not a condo hotel like Goldwyn. I had recently just sold one in Palm Key. The guy bought it sight unseen. It was a 10% return on Airbnb. Didn't even see it, and it bought it. And in Albany and Aquilina, they're also under the Hotel Encouragement Act. And there have been some revisions. There's no restrictions, but you know, if the revenue generated, the VAT generated on your rentals exceed your tax burden, you don't pay taxes. So you could literally own an amazing property here with literally zero operating costs. And they all are very amenity friendly, especially Albany. I don't think there's really any place in the Bahamas with the amount of amenities, and people are happy to pay the fee. And the fee now is $350,000 plus VAT, and you have to join membership. And that's with also getting a property for maybe cheap as $5 million. So it's just a great, there's 3 great communities that people want to be in and own it hassle-free and with no operating costs.
Excellent. I love you talk about the return. And you know, even as we develop, people are more moving now away from the agent concept to advisory. And that's where we merge our finance skill. I also have the background, you know, in terms of we were offering a private service and experience. And Mr. Christie, tell us a little bit, this is off script, but how about the private island experience and really selling a private island in terms of targeting those markets to attract people who want to come and experience the Bahamas?
Sure, well, excuse me, private islands are every man's dream. I say that's something deep inside most men is that they want to be the king of their own domain. So whether they, you know, they don't really realize it, but once if you've done very well in life and you've got your jet and you've got your yacht, one other thing that comes up is, well, I need my private island. And deep inside, there's a little king inside pretty much most men anyway, I think. And so this gives them the opportunity to be able to buy their own island. And then they can see everything they survey, like they'll be at the top of their house or whatever around it. And it's still under the laws of the Bahamas, but there are no police on the island. So you are essentially the king of your own domain in your head. But that people like to do that. And it's always, private islands have always been, you know, one of the strengths of the Bahamas. We have 700 islands and a lot of them are private. And from the 90s, when I first joined the market, there was really, no one was buying any private islands because there was a moratorium on it until the end of the Immovable Property Act. No one could buy an island, so they sat there and no one knew the value. And you could buy islands, you know, for $80,000. You could buy an island for $250,000. And basically, the private island market appreciated in the first, you know, like from, say, 95 to 2005, they appreciated it 100% a year, every year. So if you bought an island, like you could have bought an island for $80,000 10 years later, or even less than that, was $800,000. That same $80,000 island ended up selling. It had turned down an offer for like $2 million, ended up selling for like 1.4, and that owner still owns it now. But that was an $80,000 island, you know, back in the day. So, and that story's everywhere around with private islands. But now what happened is the internet came along and connectivity came along. And so you in the old days, you were on an island and that was it. You were on your own. There was, you know, that was, unless you had, even the satellite phones didn't exist. You were just out in the middle of nowhere. But now, you know, with the internet and now with Starlink and everything, you can be fully connected. You've got water makers, you've got solar generators. So the whole private island world has changed, and I think it's doing very well.
Excellent, excellent. Each of you, I thank you for your time and for sharing your legacy, the vision, and also how it affects the future development, the future Bahamian development. I just want parting words from each of you to our viewing audience. It could be about your brand, it could be about legacy, vision, however you want to. I want to give each one of you an opportunity, starting with Mr. Carey.
Okay, well, I just really want to say thank you to H.G. Christie and Darren for putting this conference on. I mean, for me, it's been an honor to participate in it. Parting words would just be, you know, think about how you want to make money in this business, because the sky's the limit as a realtor. You can really shape a business to how you want it to be. So take a look at all the information that you've been gathering at this conference. Think about it. Curate your brand, because you are uniquely you in what you present and how you sell, and then just execute it. But thank you guys for having me.
Also, just thank Darren and the HE Christie team and also the BRX team for having us here today. I guess I have two final remarks. One would be for clients interested in our project. It would be good to just think about how you want to experience the Bahamas and understand that all that can be meticulously handled for you by an on-site team, everything covered. For the locals, the Bahamans, the agents in the room, I would just say to challenge your view of Bahamian real estate and understand that, just as Mr. Christie said about private islands, the beach that you see every day has a value. It can be something. It's not just the road that you've driven by every day going to school. And that's it.
Well said. Well, it is. You know, in my 10 years here, I guess, you know, you start to take it for granted, you know, what you see. And so daily when I'm at the office, I walk around the campus and stare out at the beach. And, you know, every day off that I get, if I actually get one, you know, try to get in that ocean, because you start to take it for granted. And you're starting to see that now with these great brands, Four Seasons, Rich Reserve. You're going to see more and more of these pop up, because it's, you know, we live in paradise. And, you know, the out islands have now been discovered more and more every day. And you're going to see more and more, you know, it's hospitality driven. It's people want that exclusivity and brand. So we're very fortunate to have it. I just say don't take it for granted.
Powerful. Dylan, then John.
Yeah. I just want to say thanks, Darren, for hosting a great event. I think it shows the Bahamas is in a good place overall, and I'm looking forward to being part of the growth in the coming years.
Yeah, so thanks, Darren, mastermind of BRX. It's really incredible, great turnout. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Darren. I'd just like to say, just a final couple of words, go back to the builder, I forget his name, but the head of the Contractor Association, Mr. Sands, he had a very good point that nothing is getting cheaper. Nothing is getting cheaper, and if you want to do something, you need to do it now, because next year it'll be more expensive, most likely. And just coming back, there was a realtor, John Morley, who passed away about 10 years ago, but he was quite a gregarious person, and he always used to say, well, I bet you wish you bought that lot last year. So, and thank you very much. We appreciate all of you.
We thank you for being here. Thank you online for listening, and those who will watch it. We want to ask you the question, what do you see? I encourage you to see more. There's more to see in the Bahamas, and we can see more at HGC, see more by experiencing the One Ocean, Four Seasons, and we can experience it by not just being micro or myopic, but seeing more by experiencing the world. We have a lot to offer Bahamas. We have great things to offer. Let's do our best and make this Bahamas just the best place in the world. Let's put our hands together for a great panelist. And they will be receiving, just like everyone else received, the lamp to remind them to continue to be the lights that they are, and that's symbolic with the Doctors Hospital Partnership. You can also participate in the lamp program. Please take advantage of the opportunity. Don't wait till crisis to come. Prepare, look out for yourself, be a part of the lamp program, and be a light wherever you may go. We are here to make a difference. We appreciate your time. The certificates are here, and we can receive them, I guess, at the registration. The certificates from the University of West Indies. Those of you who have stayed, we say congratulations. You are the recipients. We wouldn't belabor the time, but remember we have a tour at 4:30. 4:30, and then some of us have further things to do. But I thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. God bless you.
When it comes to real estate in the Bahamas, why see less when you can see more? Introducing the See More Bahamas Real Estate app, giving you real-time access to properties, opportunities, and insights all in one place. Whether you're buying, investing, or exploring, everything you need is right at your fingertips. And right now, it's exclusively available on iPhone. So why see less when you can see more? Download today and see more Bahamas Real Estate.